Open your mind. Your mind. Your mind. Your mind.
Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power.
And so a community is where you control your police, you control your commerce, you control your education, you control your house. We don't control none of that. We live in a hood. Huh? Well, what about the Negroes that get out? Well, see, my cousin, they say he's a multi-millionaire, almost at $1 billion.
The Popular Thought Series.
3 PhDs, working on 2 more. Driving down the street in Chicago in his Rolls Royce, enjoying himself, and he hears these sirens and looks through the mirror and sees this cop car flashing lights. He squeezed the steering wheel, man. Heart beats fast. Because he knows the price of a Negro, what it could be. And then when that cop car passed him by, he said, thank God he wasn't after you in the first place, Paul. That Negro thing you can't get away from. It's universal. They wasn't coming after you. With all your millions, with your Rolls Royce, with your PhD, didn't help. That's the hood. Huh? Why do you think you never pick up the paper till you read over and over and see white families? You think of the thousands of black cops in America. Why don't you see white families smiling as black cops shot my loved one 42 times in the back of the head? Why do you think black cops are that? You think they're more spiritual? Think they're better? No! They got enough sense to know that white folks ain't gonna tolerate it. And I will stop in our neighborhood when we decide we will not tolerate it. Now, if we was organized, which is hard to organize people who are just gonna run crazy and you don't know you're crazy. But if we were, with the money we have, and the many people who would come to our aid that don't know what it's like to be a Negro, and we said, look, we saying, if we don't get a federal law to deal with police brutality, that anytime a cop or anybody carry a gun, have to have a license just like you used to drive a car. And if you use it wrong, then you'll lose your license. And if it's upheld, you can never work again as a cop or a store guard or a private detective. How do you get Congress to protect you? Well, you take your economic power and you call on your friends, black, white, young and old, and say, this coming Christmas, if we don't have a federal law to outlaw police brutality by law, if we call them for a nationwide boycott of Christmas and it start on Thanksgiving, well, let me tell you what that is. 79% of all retail in America happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People stay in business all year, lose money just for Christmas, huh? Well, what happens now? Fifth Avenue, Toys R Us, Sears and Roebuck, Weston House. They will get the bill, and all they got to do is make one phone call and say, Harry, that's the senator, I want that bill pushed through in 3 days. Okay, it's an economic thing. It's that simple. But we have the power, but the system has wiped us out so bad.
Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power.
San Antonio, Lincoln 6. Go ahead. Clear a suspect down 10-4. That's 10-4. The officer's code 4. We have one suspect that's been shot.
Open your mind. Your mind. Your mind. Yeah, and we are back. Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another edition of the Popular Thought Series right here on the T.P.O.T. YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why you are here. Tonight, special guest tonight. Different from what we normally do up here. on a Wednesday night. We have Mrs. Ronda Dixon Esquire in the house tonight. And y'all better be paying attention tonight because I'm pretty sure we will learn something. But before we get started, as always, I have to thank you, good folks, for supporting the platform because you don't have to do it. You don't have to like these videos. You don't have to share these videos. You don't have to subscribe to this channel, but you choose to do so. And you definitely don't have to drop your hard-earned pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and 50-cent pieces, but you choose to do that as well. And I want y'all to know that it's appreciated, man. I don't take it lightly because I don't take you, good folks, lightly. I'm humbled, I'm honored, I'm appreciative, and most importantly, I'm thankful for all you people who hang out there and the good people who hang out in here. I thank you. Like I said, tonight we have Ronda Dixon on the stream, and she's come here tonight to spend some time with us. So, without further delay,
Hello.
Mrs.
Good
Dixon,
evening.
how are
Good
you?
evening. I'm great, and you?
I'm good. I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Great.
I'm glad you decided to come tonight. Uh because being a black man, I'm very familiar. I've had my run-ins with law enforcement over the course of my life. Not so much now, but when I was a younger man. And it's good to have someone come on and kind of explain this process, explain the history of this process, and also explain some rights that people may not know they have. So I'm very thankful that you decided to come spend some time with us tonight. I was reading a little bit of your bio. Very impressed with your bio and your body of work.
Thank
So
you.
if you don't mind, just kind of give a little synopsis of who you are and what you do, and all of that.
Okay. Well, I've been attorney for a while. I started out my career as an entertainment lawyer. Well, before that, I worked in the appellate division of the District Attorney's Office of Los Angeles. And I was really went into it with starry eyes thinking, oh, I'm going to help people. I'm going to help my people. And when I got in there in the appellate division, I found that there was a lot of things that were not cool. And I at first didn't practice criminal law simply because I didn't want to be putting a lot of my people in jail, because that's really what's required. Um, it's a archaic system, but basically, even though they say we have all these rights, I also worked for the District Attorneys Association, the California District Attorneys Association, while I was in law school. And what I found was that there's a lot of law enforcement and prosecutors that lobby to change laws to make it more favorable for them and easier for them to prosecute people. Like people don't realize that information in order to bind you over in a grand jury or a preliminary hearing. They can have the police officer show up and read the hearsay information in the police report into the record and then bind you over for trial. It helps them a lot, because if they actually had to have the defendant come in and testify, a lot of times they wouldn't, and so you would know that they don't have a case. So one thing that they really do is railroad people into plea bargains. And I don't want to disparage, because I have some really good friends that are public defenders, but a lot of times I guess they're overwhelmed and they are also jaded by the system. So a lot of times they'll say, well, just take this deal. The other day I had a really heartbreaking conversation with a mom who called me and said, I want to know what I can do to get my sons out of jail. When they were 19 and 20, which was in 2018, they pled to 21 years and 14.8 years in California State Prison. And the reason they pled was because their public defender told them, hey, this is the best you can do. I'd roll the dice and go to trial, basically. I mean, if it was 3 years, fine. But if it's that much time, I'd roll the dice and go to trial. Because at least if you go to trial, I used to work in the appellate division of the District Attorneys Association, at least you have a chance at an appeal. But when you put yourself in prison by pleading out, you don't. And there was one woman who went through prison and everything, Susan Burton, and she said that, and she was right, if everybody decided at once to stop plea bargaining, just everybody, I'm going to trial, it would break the system, because the system is not meant to sustain that. They're able to warehouse individuals by bullying them into pleading. And then once they plead, everybody pleads. That's how they're able to get their numbers up. A conviction for them is a conviction. They're very competitive. A conviction is a conviction, whether it's by plea bargaining or whether it's by a trial verdict. Really only 3% of the cases go to trial. So I find in my practice that if I say, I'm taking this to trial, they rethink the situation and say, well, you know what, we can give you this offer, or we can give you that offer. And they're willing to back down because they really don't want to go to trial.
Well, isn't that the thing though? Because I know people, I have family members who have been locked up for X amount of years based on a plea. And the reason why they said they took the plea is because they feared going to trial and ultimately losing and getting more time. So are you suggesting that more people should take, whatever cases they have to trial?
Yes, because then you can also do what's called a statement in mitigation, and you can plead to the judge to reduce the sentence, and you can talk to the judge then about good behavior and about good works you've done and things like that. And a lot of times you can get a reduction. But to walk yourself into jail, the problem is when what this poor lady was asking me to do, and I know because I have a 26-year-old, he's 6'5", and today he just told me again that one of his friends got shot. He wasn't a gangbanger. He didn't think he needed to be worried because somebody asked him where he was from, and he said, well, I don't gangbang. And he turned around and kept walking, and they shot him in the head. So it's a ridiculous thing where they have this kind of gang banging mentality and all that. But, for a mother of a Black man, he's 25 years old, it's heartbreaking and scary every single day that he goes out, and it's not just that I have to worry about. And it's also for females too. Black females are being incarcerated at an alarming rate, especially young ones, because they just have some idea that that Black people are more combative, that they don't give them any leeway. They just I think it's almost like there's been so much negative propaganda about Black people that they get to the point where they are scared of them. It's like almost a knee-jerk reaction, like what happened with Philando Castile. He wasn't making any threatening movements. All he said was, just to be clear, I have a open carry permit. And all the police officers, a Black man with a gun, and he shot him. And I think up until now, the cases have held that it was the subjective belief of the officer that was what was the operative standard. So if I'm a police officer, and even though it's totally unreasonable for me to be afraid, apparently they all agree that it's okay to be afraid of Black men, that they're scary and they might kill me. So I'm going to shoot them first before they possibly could kill me. And so a lot of those cases are basically turning on that, on the subjective belief of the officer, or what he thought, not whether it was reasonable, but what he thought.
So we got this thing with unconscious bias then, that it's just right. It's just there, no matter what, no matter what you're doing, whether or not you have a criminal history or not, because they don't know that until they run you.
Well, they assume that you do, though. That's the
Mm,
problem. That is the issue right there, is they assume that black males are super predators and they're dangerous, and so they act accordingly. Like, they're not supposed to do that, but they do. In California, we recently changed the law, and it was a black lawmaker in San Diego that authored a bill saying that a police officer has to have a reasonable suspicion, not a reasonable suspicion, but they have to be reasonable to shoot you. There has to be some justification, because basically they were just shooting people randomly because they felt fear. So that's what their argument always is, and that's what the police union protects them on, is that they were afraid for their life, and that's why they killed the person.
hmm. Well, isn't that always the go-to anyway, no matter what the situation, whether the person's armed or unarmed, or the person can be just kind of standing there, and the line is always, I feared for my life, even when the guy's back is turned and he's heading away. With
Exactly.
Mr. Scott down here where I am, not too far from where I am, he was shot in the back 8 times, and I do believe that same defense was used. He even lied and said he grabbed his taser or something or another. So, I mean, and that stuff's been working. It works for these
It does.
guys.
You know where it came from? It was interesting. When I worked for the California District Attorneys Association, we authored something called the DUI Handbook and the Prosecutor's Brief. And we also did something that was like I call it a cheat sheet for the prosecutors. So while I was in law school, I worked for them and I wrote articles for this magazine called the Prosecutor's Brief. But what I would do is summarize case law that came down and give it to them in a one sheet so that they could quote it in court, and then also so that they could teach that they literally, the district attorney has courses where they coach the police officers on what the latest cases are that come from the California Supreme Court or from the United States Supreme Court, local cases where they've held things that they think will be helpful to them. Like, for instance, you have to have reasonable suspicion or probable cause to stop someone in their car, or stop someone, period, and question them and talk to them, right? So what they'll do when somebody's driving is they'll say they smelled marijuana. Interestingly enough, they'll search the car cover to cover and not find one bit of marijuana. Okay. But yet they found a gun, or they found some paraphernalia for meth, or they found something else, usually some drugs or something, that now they can use that. But their argument was that because otherwise it could be suppressed. You could use a motion to suppress the evidence and suppress it because they didn't have probable cause or a reasonable suspicion that a crime had been committed. So there was a case in the California Supreme Court that said, where a police officer said he smelled marijuana. And that case said, oh, that's reasonable suspicion. That's a probable cause. So after that, the DAs were like, hey, and then this case was, argued and won on this basis. And so then all of a sudden, every police officer on the planet smells marijuana when they have a dirty bust. That's their go-to to say that, that the bust was good. But the problem is that you should use some common sense, and they never do. Like, if it was taken to trial, you'd say, okay, so if you have a 1538 motion to suppress, if he smelled marijuana, why was no marijuana whatsoever found in the car?
Yeah, that makes sense. They smoked it. They smoked it all. They smoked it all.
But there would have been a residual of something like a roach, or now they use vapes. It doesn't stay in the car that long. You know what I mean? And if it does, still, the issue is once they get in the car, that all of a sudden they don't smell any marijuana. They find something else, usually something a little more serious.
So, what's your take on this qualified immunity thing? What's your take on that?
So the United States Supreme Court has done us no favors at all. One person did an article about that and said that, basically it's a bastion of white supremacy, even when they put white women in the court. It's been stacked for many years. It is another way to keep the same people in power. So what they did, starting with Plessy versus Ferguson, going all the way back, the 14th Amendment and the 13th Amendment were made law. The United States Supreme Court overturned it and unleashed the rage of the white Klansmen and all that on us. The Jim Crow laws, everything. When they did Plessy versus Ferguson, it was a light-skinned black man riding on the train, wanted to be treated just like everyone else. He had paid his money, and he said, this separate but equal making me sit in the back isn't fair. I paid the same amount of money. I'm traveling on the train, and as far as I know, we are not slaves anymore, so I should not have to sit in the back of the train. So the ruling was really ridiculous. It was horrible. The ruling was that separate but equal was fine. Separate was fine as long as it could be equal, and they convinced him that separate was equal. And then one of the chief justices volunteered and said, a black man has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. And from that point forward, the Reconstruction era, everything was over, and that started really a huge backlash, or I call it a blacklash, against Black people that lasted up until the present, really. So then we had Brown versus Board of Education 100 years later that overturned separate but equal and says separate is inherently unequal. Then we set up affirmative action laws, and affirmative action was actually not a dissenting opinion, but it wasn't the main opinion in this case, but it was a supporting opinion by one of the justices that concurred. And what that justice said was that for, 200-300 years, whenever a Black person wanted a job, the answer was no. Whenever a Black person wanted to sleep in a hotel, the answer was no. Whenever he wanted to eat at a restaurant, the answer was no. So the only way I can think of to correct this negative action is to take an affirmative action. So what was supposed to happen was we were supposed to, and everybody Black was supposed to get, hey, you want to go into a hotel, fine, you get to go to the hotel, all that was supposed to be turned around. And then you got your white people that felt that they were being discriminated against. And you had the Bakke decision and a whole bunch of other decisions like Prop 409 here in California, which stated that it was actually unlawful for you to give any preferences to African American people. And that really overturned the whole affirmative action. The year after Prop 409 was passed, the entering class at Berkeley was one Black person and one Latina. And before that, I know for a fact, as I went to UC Davis Law School, that there used to be at least 50, of each. I mean, so there was at least 25 Black students and 25, Latino students. So if race wasn't an issue, why is it that the first time they get to look at race, that they have consistently, the law school enrollment has consistently been way, way down? As long as they get to look at race and not have to make it a factor, not have to mandatorily, you have to force their hand. They're obviously not being fair. And then when they can do that and say that they're being discriminated against, which isn't true. I remember I was working in the Eastern District for a federal judge, clerking for a federal judge. And one of the other people that was there was a white male. And he thought I was going to go for his argument. He was stating that he was upset because he went to Hastings Law School and he should have went to Berkeley. But some Black guy that he knew, they were both in the Air Force, they were Army brats. And he felt that the Black guy got an advantage because he was Black, and that's why he got into Berkeley. And then he went to Hastings. I said, well, Hastings is a very good law school. But I said, I know for a fact there's probably only 25 out of 500 in the entering class. There's 500 people. And out of that, there's no more than 25 of them are African American. So I said, what happened to the 475 other seats that were occupied by white people? Why wasn't that one of your seats? Why is it that you feel that one black person getting this position was what knocked you out of the box? you know so
So
they just don't want competition. That's what discrimination is about white males not having to face competition from anyone else.
well, I know, on media, we often have these kind of conversations, and people often say, things are pretty much the same as they were. Then you have people who say, oh, we've come a long way, in the last 100 years, or whatever the case may be. Far as law and quote unquote order, if you will, as far as that's concerned, is any of that true? Are we still, which one is true? Are we still are we back like we were 100 years ago, or have we come a long way?
In the criminal justice system, I haven't seen a big change. I still see them being very conservative. What people don't realize is that 97% of the sitting judges are prosecutors, and most of them are Republicans. So being that they bring this very conservative mindset to the bench, and they, if everything is, if all you have is a hammer, then everything is a nail. So as I told you, I practiced entertainment law for many years. And I would be disappointed when I go into court on an entertainment matter or any other litigation matter, because the judges don't know anything about that. They're criminal lawyers. And because when they were at the DA's office, they had a lot of support. So they just walk in and grandstand. They don't know anything about anything, and they'll just say some things that don't make any sense whatsoever. It would be very good to diversify the bench and give more people chances that have more varied backgrounds, and also other areas of law other than criminal law. Even the civil court, you're going to find that the judges are criminal lawyers. That's their background. They don't have civil backgrounds, very rarely. And very rarely do public defenders get on the bench. So you get this skewed representation on the bench where, a lot of these people are going to see things one way. It was interesting because I watched every minute of the OJ trial, and most people don't realize that Judge Ito used to work for Johnny Cochran. So did Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden. All of those people were subordinate to him. He was their boss. And there was a dynamic going on in the courtroom where sometimes Ito would say, I don't work for you anymore. He actually said that from the bench. And they were, there was like this infighting going on. And if you read Johnny Cochran's autobiography, he says he knew he won the case the minute he walked in and saw who was against him. He said the only person he was really concerned about was Bill Hodgman, because he was a solid, he had solid credentials, and he was one to really take his job seriously. But he didn't think that Marcia Clark or Christopher Darden were that serious about their job. It's not that they weren't serious. Let's not say that. Let's say that they were really they were looking for fame and fortune, because they would always come to his office and ask him if he could put them on cases where they were high profile cases when he worked at the DA's office. And his job at the DA's office was to prosecute dirty cops. So that was basically his job, was to continue to make sure that the police, the LAPD, was doing, not doing the dirty things that they normally do. And the top 5 people on that list, out of those, was Van Adder and I forget the other guy's name, but both of those two officers were
Mark Furman.
Yes, Mark Furman. They were number like 2 and 3 in the top 5 of the bad cops with the most complaints. And it's very hard to get them dismissed. And one thing I'd like to bring up is there was a guy named Dorner. Remember the guy that went commando on the LAPD a few years ago? He made a manifesto at on Facebook, and now you see that he was right. The reason he was upset was he was fired because he reported a female cop that was abusing an arrestee. And instead of taking his report, they ostracized him and they started to turn it around on him. But the bad thing was for him, the worst part was they wouldn't let it go, and they made his life miserable because they gave him a negative review, fired him, and then after that, he wanted to go back to being a Navy SEAL because that's what he had done before. He wanted to go back into the military, but they actually gave negative reviews to the military, and so forth. That stopped him from being able to do that. And he said that was the only thing he loved doing, and that's what really got him upset and made him go on the rampage.
Well, you said something that really stuck out about the judges. So there's this risk, or I guess, I mean, that's kind of how it is. You go in front of a judge in a civil matter, and this judge may not necessarily have a civil background. And likewise, you can go in front of a judge for a criminal matter, and this judge doesn't have a criminal prosecution background. So what you're saying is that's not even a requirement. It's not a requirement, right?
Okay. It's not, but more likely they have a criminal prosecution background, and from that background, they're usually the prosecutor. So that's another reason why they're so hard on crime and draconian, because they've been basically enculturated by the prosecutor's office and their job. So they take their job as being zealous, really, really seriously, but they are holding so many of the cards. Like what I was taught in law school was that our job was to be a little bit more balanced. You know, the prosecutor decides whether a case will actually be prosecuted or not. The police will write a police report, but there's somebody that's in the DA's office and in the city attorney's office, in the prosecutor's office, attorney general, wherever, whatever it is, that is an intake attorney. And what they do is they read through the police report and try to decipher whether or not it's going to be a good case and whether or not what the charges should be and level. Sometimes the police officer will put charges on you, but what happens is the DA has to review and see if the complaint makes sense and if the charges make sense. And many times they see that a complaint isn't that good, but they go forward with it because of they have the bully pulpit. It is I don't want to just encourage everybody to go to trial because it's a roll of the dice. There has been a lot of disinformation and propaganda. So when you go before a jury and you happen to be a Black male, that isn't the best place to be. I mean, I cheered when OJ got acquitted because that is not the normal thing. You could have been nowhere near the scene. There could be no evidence tying you whatsoever. There are many people that are in jail that are not guilty. And they knew they weren't guilty, but they figured they were the usual suspect and we can prosecute these people and we can get a jury to agree. Because when I was working at the DA's office in the appellate division, sometimes they would be rehearsing their closing arguments. And whenever there was a situation where the police officer, where it came down to the credibility of the police officer versus the defendant, right? It's the police officer's word against the defendant's. They would say, this person, and they would point to the police officer, is sworn to protect and serve you. Why would he lie? If you believe the defendant, you're calling him a liar. That's it. So, and they literally would win. So, and then they also have laws where they say that you cannot, as me as a defense attorney, I can't mention what the penalty is for something because the penalties are really draconian. And if somebody knew that somebody was going to get 25 years to life because there was a gun in a briefcase on the second floor of a house that they were in and they were considered ex-felon in possession of a weapon, it's called constructive possession. They weren't even holding the weapon. They weren't doing anything. They went to search this house and the person was in there, and then they violated them, gave them a 25, gave them a third strike based on that. If people knew that they were going to spend 25 years to life, maybe they would not vote for guilty. That's why a lot of times when there's the death penalty is on the line, if they think that the people will balk, they make it. Now, this is funny because they tell the defense attorney that the defense attorney cannot talk about what the penalty is so that the jury isn't poisoned into not convicting. Yet the prosecutor will make it a point to only charge them with a lesser charge if they think it will be difficult to get a death penalty conviction.
So that means the deck is stacked,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
So I guess the old adage of it's better that 100 guilty people go free as opposed to one innocent person going to prison. I guess that's not real, right? That's not real, is it?
No, it's the other way around. It's better that 100 guilty people, 100 innocent people go to prison for fear that one innocent person goes, that one guilty person goes free. The way the prosecution works is it's better that 100 innocent people go to prison for fear that we accidentally let out one guilty person.
Gotcha. I know I used to read up on like the Innocence Project, and these are people who spent X amount of years on death row to be exonerated, just by a simple DNA test or a witness that no one talked to, or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
So do you believe, and I don't know if you can talk about this or not, but do you believe that all this information that that the Innocent Project comes up with, to ultimately get these people out of the penitentiary, do you believe that some of these prosecutors actually have access to this information and they proceed with sending this person to death row anyway?
Oh, I don't believe it. I know it for a fact. They disqualified the Orange County prosecutor a few years ago for holding back evidence. So there's what we call a Brady Trombata motion, which is a motion to dismiss based on the fact that they have withheld exculpatory evidence. They have an affirmative duty to turn over their evidence, all evidence that they have, and especially evidence that tends to be exculpatory, because we know how they are. They're very, very competitive. They want to win, and they end up a lot of times losing or forgetting about evidence that happens to be exculpatory. They don't turn it over, and unless you know that it's there and specifically request it, you may not see it. They are under a duty to turn it over. And so now, just to show you how the law works, so you have a right not to incriminate yourself, and that means that evidence you're holding, you don't have to turn over. But the California has changed the rules and said that the not only is the district attorney under the obligation to turn their evidence over to you, you're under an obligation to turn all evidence you have for your defense to them. Now that basically is counterintuitive, because what they use that evidence for is, instead of, so what I see them do a lot of times is they're not proving that you did the crime. I'm sorry. You can have exculpatory evidence, but if they've decided that this particular individual did the crime, then only the evidence they pay attention to and collect and preserve is any evidence that tends to show and prove their theory of the case, that this person that they arrested is guilty, even though they may find evidence to the contrary. They want to make sure to keep the evidence, and then they'll say, oh, well, that evidence isn't important. Well, it's not important to you because it doesn't prove your case, but it's important to the defendant because it tends to disprove your case or show that someone else committed the crime and that wasn't the defendant.
So I'm thinking that in many courtrooms, there's a lot of prosecutorial misconduct going on. Is that correct?
You're very correct. And as a matter of fact, there's thousands of laws on the books here in California, and I guess other places too, for prosecutorial misconduct. There's laws to make attorneys guilty, even in civil law, for witness tampering and fraud and perjury. But there's a fair amount of laws that are geared towards the prosecutors, because they know that they've been caught red-handed withholding evidence. Like I said, they disqualified the Orange County prosecutor at one time, everything from his office, because they knew that they were engaging in a lot of this witness tampering and evidence exclusion that they weren't supposed to be doing. And so they've caught them doing it enough times that it's become an issue. And we also have been trying to have bail reform, because it shouldn't be fair that a poor person has to spend time in jail and a person with more means can bail out, and even if you're not guilty, spending one day in jail if you're not guilty is not fair, and I think that the system has become too bloated. There are so many lawyers in the prisons, they have to feed the monster, and everyone knows that. So they continually put people in jail because they get a daily rate of pay, for putting them in jail. It's a fee for service business. And all of, officers get tremendous overtime. Prison guards get ridiculous amounts of overtime. At one point, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor, the prison guards at that time were making $400,000 a year. That's a lot of money because of the overtime that they would get. So they would purposely not hire enough people so that they could take the crew that they had and give them all the overtime.
Wow. I mean,
and then the interesting thing is that they want to say that people are bringing contraband into the prisons, right? But when you have no contact visits, no conjugal visits, even the attorney can't visit and I can't even give them a pad of paper to write something down. How is the paraphernalia still getting in?
we already know from the COs, from the officers themselves.
That's their side hustle. And then I just had a client who was charged with a sex offense crime. And it wasn't that he was a pedophile or anything, but anytime you do anything that's considered remotely sexual, he supposedly met some girl on the Match.com and they got to, making out and stuff. And then they made it into attempted rape. And I said, well, how did just kissing somebody become attempted rape? But anyway, that's ridiculous. It was a felony. But the point is, he did not realize the seriousness of the charge. He didn't. So when he was in one of the LAPD jails, right? And he said, I can handle this. I said, you need to call your parents and get bailed out. No, I don't want to bother them. I said, you don't want to go to the LA County jail. And he's like, oh, no, it's not going to be a problem. I said, well, you're going to be considered a sex offender and they won't give them the facts of the case or anything like that. You do not want to be at the LA County jail. Okay. So he didn't think anything of it and they kept moving him around. And finally they brought him to the LA County jail. He calls me up. I can't tell you what they said to me or what they did, but I'm very afraid. I didn't sleep all night and I'm in a room by myself now. And now I want to I said, I told you need to call your parents. He said, I said, I know exactly what they said to you and what they threatened to do to you because and he said, the interesting thing is his wristband that identified him had a different color. Him and two other guys had a different color. So the guards are the ones that alert them to the charges.
Yeah. Makes some targets, doesn't it? Makes some targets.
Yes. And it should be considered abusive, but they do that. And another thing that they do, so they put in this thing about anti-rape, at least in the LA County jail. And, they have some kind of they give you this pink form that you get to take with you everywhere. And on the back of it, it says something in code, and if you show that to a guard, they're supposed to take you out and put you out by yourself because you're saying that you're being threatened, or someone's attacking you in the jail, because that's what happens, and it has happened for a while. But they have cameras everywhere, so when that happens, why do you think that happens, or how do you think that happens when the guards have the cameras everywhere?
Yeah. Well, I think probably, because I've heard some stories, and because you spoke about the contraband and the drugs and all this kind of nonsense that comes into the prisons, which we
Mhm.
know are coming. It's coming through the officers, of course.
Mhm.
I've also heard that some officers, not only are they bringing in contraband and drugs and weapons and all this other kind of stuff that's not supposed to be in there, some of them are also aligned with some of the inmates inside the prison, and can actually, quote unquote, sick these prisoners on other people. And if not that, they can just basically do this,
Mhm.
to particular things. When you're talking about the assaults and the rapes and whatever else is going on in there, I mean, there's no way that the officers that that have care, custody, and control of these people, some of them have to be in on some of it. I mean, how can they not be in on it? I mean, there's no way that they're just innocent. And what I also heard is that if something happens, right? If something happens to a convict inside the prison, and they do their little investigation or whatever it is inside the prison, and they will, bring in, they will bring in other convicts and have them, give a statement, and often these other convicts can lie about something, and the officers will act on it. But
Mhm.
if a officer in there does something, and you have the convicts who witness it, they will say, oh, convicts lie, so you'll believe the convict if the convict is helping you. But if the convict is talking about something another officer did, now it's convicts lie. I've also heard that. So is that a thing? Is that a reason why inside the penitentiaries, not much gets done when it comes to the officers, being part of the drug ring inside the prison, bringing in the weapons, bringing in the dope? Is it why a lot of those guys can't, get rounded up and charged and stuff like that?
I think they have a very, very, very strong union, um, and the union also protects them. So that's the interesting thing, because at a certain point, when you keep on making laws that you can't have any contact with the prisoners, how does it get in? So that's the interesting thing. How does this contraband, like cell phones? I had people calling me from jail on their cell phones. How
Mm,
did those get in there?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, there's different officers that have, this is their side hustle. They're making, I don't know how much extra money on the side, selling the convicts those types of, things that they might
Oh,
want.
yeah, it's not like someone standing outside the fence throwing it over.
No, that's not
Throwing it
happening.
over the fence. um,
No.
you spoke about bail earlier.
Mhm.
Bail is basically just to, secure your return to court for your next appearance for the most part, right?
Supposedly, but it they indiscriminately imposed bail, and we were going to do a bail reform, and um it's just ridiculous. That so the bail is very discriminatory to people that don't have the means, because if you own property, if you if you own property, you can bail out. or somebody that owns property is willing to put that property up, you can bail out. But if you don't, then heaven help you. You're going to stay in. And, you know, a lot of times, the attorneys will keep, allowing the continuance, and really, you should try the case as soon as possible when somebody's incarcerated, because it's a violation of civil rights, and they'll sit up here and tell the client to keep on waiving time. But,
Yeah.
a lot of times the prosecutor would not be ready if you don't waive time, because the way that they work, they depend on plea bargains and continuances. That's why they're so easy to give those continuances, or to suggest.
Hold on a second, Mrs. Dixon. Will one of my moderators get rid of Luigi? Because one thing I don't allow is my guests to be disrespected when they're in my house. So one of my moderators, will you please get rid of Luigi, please? Because I don't know who you are, sir. But we don't play those games over here. We don't play those games over here. So someone please remove Luigi. Well, you know what? How about this? How about I do it? How about I do it? Now, go make another account and come back, and I'll be here to block that one too. Carry on, Mrs. Dixon.
Okay. I'm not sure where we were. Do you have another question for me?
Okay. Do you ever see? I mean, how do we level the playing field? Like, I mean, how do we level the playing field? You know, we as black men, particularly because we are, we're some of the most disenfranchised people. Some of the most disenfranchised people when it comes to the criminal justice system, when it comes to the police, when it comes to sentencing.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we level the playing field?
Well, I mean, there's been different initiatives. One is to change the judges, to get more diversity on the bench. Another one is to look at the laws and the lawmakers, and we're trying to get more diversity in the lawmakers. Another one is just sensitization, to demand, like we're demanding. When they talk about defund the police, they're not really saying defund the police, but the budget for the LAPD is 50% of Los Angeles City's budget. The sheriff's is 60%. So where your focus goes, that's where energy flows. So where the money goes is where the energy flows, and that tells you what they're thinking about. That they're a police state. We don't need to spend all of our money on that. There are people. I used to run a substance abuse program. I don't think people should be punished. You can't punish pain, as Gabor Mate said. Dr. Gabor Mate said you cannot punish pain. So you can't. There's certain things that need to happen, like mental health services. A lot of people are getting shot and incarcerated because they are mentally ill. And the police don't know how to deal with that. And maybe they're under the influence of drugs. That's not a reason for somebody to go to state prison. That is an illness. It is not, it's not a crime. So there were other kinds of policing, like there were community courts, where you would treat different people differently, like homeless people. They may steal or be on drugs or something because they're homeless. Well, that should be taken into account. And the punishment should fit the crime, in the sense that we should start putting rehabilitation back into the program and start not putting broken people out on the streets that bring in that whole prison mentality, but trying to rehabilitate people. And then there's the collateral damage. When people are accused of a crime, just the accusation alone can make them lose their job, can make them a pariah. And then if they actually get convicted of that crime, that might follow them for the rest of their life, making them unable to be employed. I took a class at Harvard a couple of years ago in urban policy, and my thesis was actually on cannabis, social equity in the cannabis industry. And I was looking at the policy map just to see what I was born in the zip code of 90011, and that's where my office is. And I decided to look at that map and that area on the map to see what the median income for an African American male, or I should say black male, because that's sort of a misnomer, but for a black male in that zip code, 30-year-old median income, and I wanted you to guess what it is. This is in Los Angeles, California.
30-year-old medium income.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm kind of biased. I'm a mechanical engineer, so I mean, my guys, the guys who work for me probably make about $40,000 a year. So I'm thinking 40,000.
$6,400 a year.
A year? Oh, jeez.
So there was one black psychologist, and I keep forgetting his name, but you'll know who he is. He's pretty popular, but he says that in the 1970s, the African American male or the black male was made irrelevant, economically irrelevant to the black woman. Now, if you make $6,400 a year, and it's usually because you've got felonies and you've been in and out of jail, that means that what can you do as a father? How can you be a father? How can you meaningfully provide support to the household or to your children? How can you take care of yourself? $6,400 a year.
I mean, $6,000, you can't afford to do anything.
And in LA, you would have to make that a month.
Yeah.
To live middle class.
Yeah. 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 Even down here, and I'm in the South. So the average where I live, the average salary here, I think is like $27,000. So my guys make way more than that. And they're, they're doing pretty good here. The tax base is pretty low. I couldn't imagine someone making $6,000 a year, man. I mean, Jesus, what? I mean, how do they even afford?
You are. So can you imagine in Los Angeles, California, where Hollywood is, where, some of the richest people in the world live here, but there are pockets that compete with Alabama and Mississippi in the black neighborhood as far as poverty is concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's part of it though, right? When you go, you find yourself in the system for whatever, and you go to jail and you got a felony on your record. Not only are your voting rights taken, certain housing programs, which you're probably going to need because you can only make $6,000 a year. So you're definitely going to need some type of housing assistance. And that housing assistance that's for disenfranchised people, you can't even get because you're disenfranchised by the felony. So it's not going to help you. The voting rights are out the window, so you can't even participate in the quote unquote democracy. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So it's all part of a plan. I mean, as far I've always thought, because like I said, I have, I tell people this all the time. When you're black, you're only a few people removed from whatever, jail, drugs, crack, poverty. Only a few people removed. And I have relatives that have done a considerable amount of time in prison. 5. I have a cousin that's done 12 years. One of my cousins is still in prison now. He's been there since 1998. So, I'm familiar with the stuff. And it seems like once you're out of there, all doors are locked for you. Education, housing, anything. I mean, any type of assistance, any type of any type of political involvement, all that's gone. There's only one door that's still swung wide open for you, and that's the
That's the
door you
jail.
just came out. That's the door you just came out of. All the rest of them are locked.
Right. You're
So
right. You're right.
um, I mean, it's a horrible thing. But let's get into okay, we got a question here from Renaissance Man. Are you willing to field some questions before,
Sure.
because my people like to ask questions. So are you
Sure.
willing? Okay. We got a $5 super chat here from Renaissance Man. Appreciate that, Renaissance Man. He says, "Can you ask her to estimate the percentage of prisoners that she believes are wrongfully imprisoned?"
Wow. Well, that's a good question. Danny Trejo did a film, a documentary about this, where he was talking about people getting incarcerated, and he estimated it at like 80%. Um, Not
Wow.
sure if it's that high, but it's more than you would think. And then you also have to look at overcharging. It's like it's not just that they're incarcerated. Maybe they did something wrong, but putting them in jail for 20 years for something, for a minor thing like I have a relative that's done 25 years to life for I told you, constructive possession, ex-felon in possession of a weapon. They raided a house that he was at. They found a gun in a locked briefcase, and they gave him 25 years.
Wow.
And that seems to be egregious and they did finally change the law this year, January 21st. If a person was incarcerated for 20 years or more, they can now get parole.
Hmm.
And if they're over a certain age, they can especially be looked at for parole.
Okay.
So that people don't do life in prison. And the problem is that when they give you 25 years to life, technically it's a 25-year sentence, but it's really to life because they've denied his parole for several years. And now he's done 25. It's going on 26. He's now finally going to get out.
Hmm.
But they, we call it putting the tail on it. If you have 25 to life, they put the life on it, really. And based on this new law, that's probably the only reason why he's able to see the light of day.
Do you find that people who are innocent, really innocent and know they're innocent, get charged with something, and
Yes.
they're so afraid of the system. The system is this big boogeyman that they're afraid of, and they go ahead and they plead out anyway, even though they absolutely are 100% innocent.
Yes, I know of cases where that's happened. It's because they are afraid, and it has happened that people that are totally innocent have been convicted and given a lot of time. And that's partly because the juries are not made up most of the time of people that look like them. And this whole system has brainwashed people regarding Black people or regarding certain people. So it could be Black people, it could be giving, it could be Latino people, it could be giving the benefit of the doubt to the police, thinking that if you weren't guilty, why would they be prosecuting you? Sometimes they don't even look at the evidence. They're just like, well, if they weren't guilty, why would they be prosecuting them?
Mm.
So it's really not a good place to be because a lot of people don't pay attention. We have 47% literacy rate in this country, and for most of the people that are on a jury, I don't want to be mean, but they're probably not smart enough to get out of it because most people try to figure out a way to get out, you
So
know?
so what you're saying, counselor, is
Mhm.
you have a bunch of people on the jury who probably can't even read.
Some of them
Is that
can't,
what you're
Some of them
saying?
can't. Some of them can't, but they're also just brainwashed into
Mm,
thinking that, that the prosecutor's right. You have television shows, you have all these things that tend to brainwash people. They don't show prosecutorial misconduct a lot on television.
mm,
It happens, and you probably didn't know that the Orange County prosecutor was disqualified. There are people that are have been incarcerated for these things, but it doesn't make the front page of the news because they don't want people to lose. And then just like the thing that happened in the Capitol, they don't want to call it a coup. They don't want to invoke treason, because they don't want to be embarrassed. And, that make me the special prosecutor, make me the attorney general. I would definitely, everybody would be looking at the death penalty. Okay. But because they're white, they're not. And you remember the guy, the no fucking around crew, Jam Master Jay? They're federally prosecuting him right now.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're claiming that he pointed a gun at a federal agent that was on top of a roof. Now, you saw the whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't see him point a gun at anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I see this stuff, right? And like I said, I've had people who found themselves caught up, in the criminal justice system. I mean, I had my run-ins with the law when I was a young guy, but nothing really serious, but I know people, and I'm related to people who have, done some hard time. Like I said, I have people that are still in prison right now from forever ago. And they always say that it's better to have, instead of a jury to have just a bench trial as opposed to a jury trial. Is that true?
Sometimes it might be because you can't predict a jury. Sometimes it is. I mean, the attorney tries to pick the jury as well as best they can. You just can't predict what 12 people are going to say. I remember a long time ago when I first started practicing law and I had my own office, and me and my partner, we worked for this other attorney who was older than us and had been around for a while. And I was taking notes just as eagerly, just wet behind the ears, and he was asking us to do something. He was giving us instructions, and I looked up from my pad and said, I think that might be unethical. I don't know. I don't know if that's legal. And he said, yeah, well, I'll take my chances with the jury. Since when have you seen 12 people agree on anything? Nothing is illegal until somebody says it is. Until you get convicted, you haven't committed a crime. And I was like, wow, I was not bold enough to do anything like that because I knew that, if you're an African-American lawyer, you're going to go down. You know what I mean? If you're not going to give the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So there's no way that I would do that. So.
Well, I always, I've always looked at it like this. If you find yourself, in some type of trouble, and, I have two sons, I have two sons that they're in their 30s now. And thankfully, they haven't, been to prison or anything like that. But I've always told them that, be careful how you move out in the street, because, when you're a black man and you've went through some of this crap yourself, you have to give them the whole, what happens if you get pulled over by a cop, a talk, you have to tell them, keep your hands in sight, no sudden movements, all this kind of crap that you definitely, I don't believe that white people are giving their sons the same speeches that we're giving our sons. All right. I just don't believe that. People say it's true, but I don't believe it. I just don't. And it's almost as if you have to prepare your sons differently, and I think that adds a lot of pressure to them because I started talking to my sons about this when they were like 8. I mean, they're in their 30s now, but I started talking to them about this stuff when they were like 7 or 8. Look, man, if you get confronted by a cop, this is what you do. This is what you don't do. This is what you say. This is what you don't say. And it's not fair. All right. Yeah, it's preparatory to your boys, but to have to give your boys this damn speech that no other parent is giving their sons, it just seems ridiculous to me. And you say it because, I've always told my sons, and I tell them that now that they're in their early 30s, I tell them, I say, look, son, don't try to hold court on the side of the road. Okay, even if the cop's doing something crazy, I mean, you survive the encounter, and we'll fix it. We'll get a lawyer, because I want them to survive the encounter. All right,
Yes.
more than I want them stressing their rights. I want you to live, even if I have to come and bail you out of jail. I can't bail you out of jail if you're laying in the middle of the street with a cop's bullet in your head. So, I mean, what's your take on that? Should, even if the cop is doing something, quote unquote, out of line or wrong or violating your rights, should we as black men be trying to hold court on the side of the road?
No, but hopefully you have a dash camera or something, some kind of camera where you can catch it, because they do this all the time. And then I've noticed lately that they'll say their body camera went off. And to me, I think that's prima facie exculpatory evidence. How did it go off just at the point in time when my client says you were beating him up? You're
Yeah.
saying that there was just an electronic glitch. But it's interesting that everything went out at the same time. The M-bars that are the ones that are on the car, the ones that are on the body, everything went out all at the same time, and that's not what happened. But the I have a 26-year-old, and I fear for his life. I mean, it's not fair what we have to go through as black parents. The kind of stress that we have every single time my son walks out the door, I'm worried. And I'm worried from the cops. I'm worried from the gangs. I'm worried, just, a friend of mine, she lost her son, and she said that he was with another guy. They were supposedly playing cards or something, just sitting there. And all of a sudden he has a bullet in his head. Um, they don't know what happened or why. The other guy just happened to be white, his friend, but we don't really know what happened. And I don't know if he actually got prosecuted or not, but she lost her son.
Wow.
So nobody wants to lose their children. And I think that, I often thought there should be like 100 million, a million mothers march, about this violence. This is the most violent society on earth. For us not to be at war, the amount of people that are killed every single day is ridiculous due to gun violence.
Oh, yeah.
And we won't stop selling guns because guns don't kill people. People do, so they say. But it's a big business that the United States has. If you look at wars, you'll find that both sides are armed by the United States. It used to be one side had Kalashnikovs, the other side had N16s. Not anymore. Both sides, everything says made in the USA.
Yeah.
We're
Isn't
the
that?
biggest arms dealers and dealers of weapons of mass destruction on the planet, including in our own country. And that's that karmic debt. Because as long as we keep doing that to other people, it's happening here. There's
Yep.
never been a war really fought on our soil, but we're fighting an internal war every day. And one thing that I really hate is the domestic violence. Now that we have COVID, the most cases I'm seeing, domestic violence, some robberies, a lot of drug charges and DUIs. That's what most of the criminal matters are, So it's just
But it's
people are.
up. It's up though, right? Crime has risen since
Yeah,
the whole COVID thing, right? Across the
yeah,
board, or
it's
is it
very
is
busy.
is it
No, it's
across the board?
mainly
Oh,
domestic violence and their related, matters. 211s, which are robberies, um, murders from gang activity, and then also the domestic violence.
mm,
And that's pretty much it. And DUIs. A lot of people are just sitting at home drinking, you know,
yeah,
and taking drugs. And a lot of people are depressed. A lot of people, they don't have jobs, or they're doing. Another thing is fraud. The fraud from the people fraudulently getting money from the EDD and things like that.
yeah.
Um, but it's just poor people crimes. But the courts are full. I thought I was going to be taking a break, and it's ridiculous. I've been running around like crazy because the courts are they're still prosecuting people. They're still evicting people. They're still, doing all the things that they said they were going to suspend the courts and stop doing it. In some instances, they're allowing those to go forward by telephonic appearances. But in the criminal matters, for the most part, that's not the case. If it's a felony, you're required to appear. Now, some courts are allowing telephonic appearances or people to appear telephonically from jail. And I just feel like they should do more of that anyway. But I think that the sheriffs, you see, the way their system works, they get paid money to transport. They get paid money to put them in this facility. And they shuffle them around from one to the other so they can get that money. It's all about the money. And I don't feel it's about people as much as it's about money. And they should really make it more about people, and a lot of the money that we're putting towards, like I said, if their energy is going towards incarceration, why doesn't it go more towards education? Remember, they said the cradle to prison pipeline is the third grade testing shows how many prison beds they're going to need later on. Well, that should be showing how many college seats they need later on.
Yeah,
But
right.
because we spend our money on law enforcement, that's where it goes.
Well, I want to ask you a few more questions about trial, and then I want to get into some democracy and also talk a little bit about cannabis. I don't know how much. What do you look like on time, Mrs. Dixon? What are you looking like on time?
Well, if we could wrap it up around 8 my time, because it's 7:52 right now.
Okay. So let me go ahead and get them in quick.
Okay.
Do you think that if we had more Black people on juries when they're having jury trials for Black people, would that make a difference?
I think it would. I do. I think that then people, because I think some of the people on the jury literally are biased, even though they're not supposed to be. And there's some kind of an idea that Black people can tolerate more pain, that they can tolerate being incarcerated, and can tolerate things that most other people can't tolerate. I was actually in chambers with a judge and one day, and I was talking to her, and she said, "You people," I was talking about my client who actually was a rapper, and he had gotten picked up on some little bogus charge about, violation of probation for not painting over some graffiti when he was 17. It was 10 years later. So they wanted to incarcerate him in the LA County Jail for 45 days. And I said, that's not going to work because he just released a record, and those records usually they usually give him 4 to 6 weeks. And if they don't stick to the wall, they go to the next person. So you're going to ruin his entire career over something he did when he was 17 years old. And so the judge, we're in chambers. So the judge says to me, well, you people can do, 45 days. And I said, Your Honor, just as a point of clarification, can you let me know who you people are as opposed to other people? I mean, who is the people that can do time in jail for 45 days as opposed to somebody else that couldn't do jail? And she started stuttering. Yeah. I said, yeah, I'm just wondering who you people are. So she, after I said that to her, she started to think about it. And I said, I really think the judges should be required to sit in a jail cell for at least 5 minutes before they could put people in a jail cell. Because then you'll see that it's not a pleasant place to be for anybody.
Exactly.
So she ended up allowing me to, they said that she had never done this before, but she allowed me to have my client do community service and even write a rap song.
Well, what I tell people is this, and I've always said this, as far as, Black juries and stuff like that, because they usually pick juries from where? Voter registration lists. So you got to get yourself registered to vote, and maybe you might can find yourself on those juries.
Well, it's not just the voter registration list, but it's geographic areas. And so Unfortunately, even when they go by the voter registration list, and I have to correct you on this whole thing about in certain states, felons can vote, and California is one of them. And now they even changed the law that if you're on parole or probation, you can vote. You can even vote in the county jail if you can get a ballot, because
Wow.
in the county jail, you have not yet been convicted, right?
Mm,
You've just been
okay.
accused of a crime.
So you can vote right there in the jailhouse. Right
You
there in the
could.
jailhouse.
And so
Yeah.
what happens is
Okay.
a lot of people haven't been educated though, and a lot of ex-felons, because they've been out of the system for so long, they won't vote, or they're like, oh no, I'm not going to vote, or I don't want they don't trust the government to have their information, so they won't vote. And they don't realize that the prosecutors, remember I told you I used to work for this California District Attorneys Association. That's a lobbying group for the prosecutors. And what we would do is go up. We were located in Sacramento. I went to UC Davis Law School that was in Sacramento, outside of Sacramento. And what we would do is lobby for laws that help the prosecutor, you know, and they always make their job easier. This whole law about that you can go in and the police officer can just read the record. So, you know, it would seem to be a violation of your constitutional rights. In the preliminary hearing, you don't get to confront the witness against you. If the witness doesn't want to show up or they don't think they're going to be a good witness, they just put the officer on the stand to read the witness's statement into the record.
Mm,
That's a law that they changed so that they could do that. Then they have, you know, they just have so many laws that make it easier for them. Now you have to turn over your evidence to them. No, the way it's supposed to go is the prosecutor has the prima facie, has to make their case. They have to prove their case, and you don't have to help them, because why? You have the right against self-incrimination. Giving them
yeah.
your evidence might be incriminating. That's a
Yeah.
constitutional right, the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, right? So it's up to them, the prosecutor, to make their case, not for you to make it for them. So
Yeah. I thought it was always about the state or the county or the federal government. I thought it was all about them being able to prove your guilt, not you necessarily having to prove your innocence. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be?
yes. And so what happens is that is exactly what the problem is that it's switched. There's been so many laws that have been changed by lobbying based on the prosecutor and by the Supreme Court making rules. Like, remember back in the day, the Supreme Court was liberal for maybe 12 years. And that was back in the 70s. That's when we got the Miranda. That's when we got Roe versus Wade. It hasn't been liberal in the history of the Supreme Court for any sustained period of time. So most of the time, our rights are rolled back by the Supreme Court, and they make rulings that really don't benefit the larger group of society. You know what I mean? Like the Citizens United and different things like that. They don't benefit everyone else. Like not they never did actually pass the Equal Rights Amendment. Um, they made a rule that women were a protected class after Black people became a protected class, and the EOC, and you know how they say race, national origin, and everything like that. But they never really passed that law, you know. And voting rights. Black people don't have the right to vote by law, really. It's based on the Voting Rights Act of 1964, which has been gutted. And they're the United States Supreme Court, when they have chances to step in. Case in point, during the George Floyd um, disturbances and unrest that happened with all of the rioting and everything, the protests, there were 7 cases on qualified immunity before the Supreme Court of the United States, and they could have changed it right then and there.
Mm,
They decided, they did something we call denying certiorari, denying cert. So what they do is leave it as a status quo by the cases that they decide that they're going to take on. That's when they can change the law.
mm.
They decided not to take on any of those cases, and that was in the very midst of all of the unrest. Those cases came before their deaths, 7 of them at once, that had been winding their way up for years. It takes about 7 years to get to the Supreme Court. Now, qualified immunity was created by the United States Supreme Court in about 1989 in a decision that they made. stating that it doesn't just apply to police officers, it applies to any public official. While carrying out their duty, they have qualified immunity from prosecution.
Wow. No matter what, no matter how egregious the act they're accused of, is
It
qualified
depends.
immunity.
The default is if they have been acting under color of law, if they say that they were acting outside of the scope of their job. But if they're in the scope of their job, then they have qualified immunity.
Wow. And it's insane because, you know, we hear this a lot, you know, and you alluded to it as well. You talked about filming the cops and how they can turn off their body cams and all this kind of nonsense. But many times, and I've always told my sons, and I tell other young fellas too, that cameras don't stop crazy cops, because often the camera that catches the egregious act is the cop's camera. It's the dash cam. It's the, you know, it's the camera that's inside the precinct. So these cops know now more than ever, they know that cameras are everywhere. I mean, from what I understand, I mean, if you go out of your house and go uptown, you're filmed like 25 times or something like that. So these cops know these cameras are here, and they're still doing what they're doing. I mean, so I just don't think, I think the camera thing is good, but I'm a true believer that personnel is policy. All right. No matter how many cameras you put on the cars, no matter how many laws you put in place, no matter how many times you run down a protocol, you know, personnel is policy. If you got a guy,
personnel is policy,
because if you have a guy on the force who, for whatever reason, doesn't like black people, doesn't like Asian people, doesn't like Latino people, he's not going to give a damn about the protocol. He's not going to give a damn about the cameras. He's not going to give a damn about the rules. I mean, personnel is policy. So no matter how many rules you give him or how many parameters you give him to stay inside of, if that's his personality, if he has that quote unquote unconscious bias when it comes to brown people, he's not going to follow the rules.
Well, that's true. And the problem is that he will follow him if he has consequences. There's been no consequences. Okay. So it's just like people, you know, on those shows where they put the cameras and they know they're there, but then they start acting crazy, you know, those reality shows. But it's the thing is that they don't have consequences. There is nothing to make them stay within the lines. So without consequences, why do I care if the cameras are there? People have, look what happened with Rodney King. We saw with our own eyes him getting beat, and then they got acquitted because they got an expert to come and tell the jury that when they see him getting hit and he's moving and twitching from the tasers, that isn't really happening.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what's really happening. And do you know that they actually had the nerve to, I heard this somewhere, that they suggested that the police get those clear, not glass, but made out of like plexiglass, make their batons out of plexiglass so that they couldn't be filmed when they're hitting people with them.
Wow.
They would be clear, and you wouldn't, you know, you just see them, you know, jump like with the, you know, but you wouldn't actually see the baton.
Yeah, don't believe your lying eyes is usually, when they're caught on camera, that's usually the story. Oh, don't believe your lying eyes. You're not seeing what you're really seeing, which I think is total BS. Total BS, by the way. I know you gotta go, but I do want to ask you about the whole cannabis thing, because we know that it's been legalized in a few states, you know. So
in California, sure.
Yes. Do you think that there is because we know the drug laws were based in racism, you know, even something like marijuana based in racism. So is that what is keeping cannabis from being legal in more places? Is there racist and discriminatory overtones behind, you know, just the whole, not just legalizing it across the board?
I think so, because really it keeps people incarcerated. You know, when I practice criminal law, 80% of my cases are DUIs, and they're people under the influence. So they want to make sure to keep these prisons full, and their default when is to keep them. 80. A lot of the people that are in prison are based on drug charges. Now, if we started to change, like they talk about, defund the police and really let the money go into treatment instead of incarceration, then that would change the nature. Right now, there are prisons that are just for people in substance abuse because they want to keep a hold of the money, keep a hold of that area because they know that they want to punish pain and they want to punish these people that are using drugs instead of realizing that it may not be a willful thing. They're addicts. Addicts do not have will when they're under the addiction. Until they can break the addiction, it's a compulsion, you know. Um, a lot of crime is tangentially related to drugs. If maybe they steal something so they can buy some drugs, they prostitute so they can buy some drugs, you know. So a lot of that is interrelated. And so I do think that we should just legalize, but that would, eliminate a lot of crime actually, because some of the crime is enforcement from the drug people that are saying, hey, you owe me money. I'm going to kill you because you didn't pay me, or people robbing drug dealers or robbing people so that they can get drugs. So much of the crime is tangential to the drug industry, right? And what happened, the cartel, they're legalizing it in Mexico, and that's going to be a major thing because the cartels, the main thing that they were controlling was weed, marijuana. No
Yeah.
more, there's not as many people using cocaine. Crystal meth has become a big deal, and anybody can concoct that in their kitchen with a number of different ingredients. So, the cocaine trade went downhill. The heroin trade is, basically it's addiction by prescription. A lot of people are selling prescription drugs. So, if we started treating people and getting this whole country off of this whole addiction thing, then that would open up a lot of prisons, and then there would be a lot less police officers, a lot less prisons, and a lot less incarceration. Um, that's what I see, and that's what I think, and I do think that it has something to do with that. I think they should legalize marijuana. I personally don't use it, but interestingly enough, I'm the cannabis consultant for the city of Sacramento, and I'm also part of a team that's consulting for the city of Los Angeles for the Department of Cannabis Regulation. I see it as a reparation. It's unfortunate they gave the Indians gambling casinos, and they appear to have think they're giving Black people marijuana because, which I don't see that. More white people have dispensaries than Black people, and then even though they made the social equity, many people don't have the money to get. They don't have the money to get into this business, right? And so they have to get a partner. Who's the partner going to be? Usually a white male, So the business is still dominated, and this country is still dominated economically by white males. It's very hard to break into that because of the whole history of keeping it that way. It's interesting because there's many Black people that have made inventions. The silicone chip was made by a Black person, the cell phone, the actual telephone. But yet, the people that control it, when you go to Silicon Valley, you're not going to find very many Black people that are into the tech industry. So it's just a shame that's what's happened. But this economic, the criminal justice system is another way to hold people back economically, because that's what we talked about, collateral damage. These guys are not making $6,400 a year because they could go to college. When you get a felony, you can't go to college. When you get a felony, you can't go into public housing. You can't get jobs. So you're kind of, we have the largest population of homeless individuals. And a lot of those individuals are people that have been, they have had felonies before. They've been a victim of the criminal justice system. And now they have this collateral damage that comes from the criminal justice system.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know you gotta go, counselor, but I want you to know we appreciate you coming through.
Thank you.
You gotta come back. You gotta come back, Mrs.
Definitely.
Dixon. You
Thank
gotta come back at some point. because there's more things I want to talk to you about. Uh, I'll stay in contact with you, and maybe I can get you back in here, at some point in time. But I appreciate you coming on and telling us a few things that we didn't know, and hopefully people got something out of it and learned a little something that can help them down the road. Um, I put your if everybody looks down here, I put the counselor's information down in
Yes.
the chat. You can reach her at the Dixon Justice Center, I believe. The
.com.
website.com, and the website is down here. So just look and you'll see it. And I guess if you're in the California area, I guess you can call if you find yourself in trouble.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
once again, I appreciate you coming through, Mrs. Dixon, and spending some time with us. I know your attorney. I know your attorney folks are busy, and I appreciate you spending some time with the Proper Thought series. And we got to get you. We got to get you back. I have your information, and I'll be speaking to you at some point in time. And thank you again. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for
Abs-
having me. All right.
Absolutely.
Take care. Good night.
Take it easy. Peace.
Bye bye.
Yeah, folks. Just got off the line with Ronda Dixon Esquire. Yeah, I mean, she came through, and because I had spoke to her, I mean, because her and I had talked like last week, on the phone, and she was like, "Yeah, Xavier, I want to come, and talk about some stuff, and because I'm trying to give y'all some different looks, man. I told y'all at the top of the year, you're gonna see some different faces up here. I meant it. All right. I meant it. You're gonna see some different stuff. You're gonna see some different looks. Of course, you're gonna see, some of the rank and file stuff, but you're going to see some different looks, man. You know, um, and she's pretty candid attorney, man. And we got one knucklehead in here who wanted to come on here and say some old foolishness. Obviously someone who's never been here before and doesn't understand that crap doesn't fly here, But it is what it is. I hope y'all got something out of it. I hope y'all might have learned a few things, and she says she'll come back. So look forward to Mrs. Dixon coming back through at some point in time, because this is the T.P.O.T YouTube page, and y'all know this is what we do here. But I don't know if I'm going to go. And yeah, I see the power of offense up here in the chat. I got your email, brother. We gotta link up. We can do an interview. I don't know if he's still in the chat or not, but I see him up there, and we can. What's good, brother Charles? I got your message, brother. We can. I think we can get up. I can't do it this week because I'm booked this week. Maybe we can do something next week or the following week because I think I only got one show booked for next week. Maybe we can get together next week and do something. Just hit me up. Let me know what your schedule look like, and we can throw down. But yeah, I wanted to bring her up here, talk about a few things, man. Some law and order, some crime. I didn't really get to talk to her about cannabis and democracy like I wanted to, but she said she had to go at like 8. So I'm gonna have to get her back up in here, so we can chop it up some more about this law and order stuff. But a programming note, because OX likes programming notes. Tomorrow, we will be doing something big tomorrow, folks. Tomorrow, the reckoning. And I will be assembling all the YouTubers and love will be in the house. I'm not going to tell you who's coming because I want it to be a surprise. So you have to come up in here tomorrow. I don't think anywhere else you're going to see these particular personalities in one place at one time on one stream. I don't think you're going to do it, but we managed to make it happen for tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, and we are going to be talking about the incorrect espousals of obsessed interlocutors. Yeah, the reckoning of that. So we're going to be clearing some stuff up tomorrow. We're going to hash some things out tomorrow, and we're going to have this talk, man. And tomorrow's going to be serious too. I know tonight was a serious show, but tomorrow's going to be a serious show too. So make sure you have your black behinds here tomorrow, right here on the T.P.O.T YouTube page. You know, and I want you to book your calendar for next week, because next next Wednesday, as a matter of fact, my bad. Next Wednesday, the one and only Cut to the Chase will be here. I've been trying to get this young fella in here for a minute. We actually were supposed to do something this week, but things got kind of messed up, so I had to move some stuff around. But he will be here next week. Next week, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the T.P.O.T YouTube page. You Negroes know. He'll be in here chopping it up for an interview. We're going to kick back. He'll probably take a few questions, I guess. And yeah, the young fella be here, man. It's been a long time coming. So make sure you're here next week, all right? Because if you don't, you already know what I'll do. Don't make me say it. But yeah, very informative tonight. Mrs. Dixon coming through. Hey, what's good? Brother Sir Obadiah, I see you up there, brother. So what do y'all want to do? Do we close it out? Do we continue? What do we do? Folks, do we continue? Do we march on, or do we pack it up? What say you, good folks? What say you, good folks? If y'all wanna, if anybody wants to come through, because we got a little bit of time. Let me see. It's only 11:15. Guess we can go for a while longer. I guess we can go for a little while longer. You want to come through, or you want to discuss something, that Miss Dixon was up here talking about, go ahead, hit me on my email, and I will send you the link. You want to come through for a few moments and discuss what you just watched. If you agree with the attorney, but even if you disagree with the attorney, that's fine too. I don't have a problem with that. It's all good. We don't scoff at disagreement here. We don't scoff at disagreement. Go ahead and hit me on my email. It's prophetofthought@yahoo.com. That's prophetofthought@yahoo.com. One word, no caps, at yahoo.com. Oh, my man is up in here. Brother AJ. Oh, you want to come through? I got you. My Chi-Town brother. Go ahead and send him the link right quick. Check your email, Brother AJ. Check your email, brother. Sent it to the wrong person. Shit. To the wrong person. Yeah, go ahead, check your email. I'm trying to think if I got Renaissance Man's email. I don't think I have your email, Renaissance Man. So you're gonna have to write me, brother. Yeah, you're gonna have to hit my email. So I don't think I have yours. I know. And it's crazy because on YouTube, everybody has everybody's goddamn email. Everybody has everybody's goddamn email on YouTube. Shit, I don't even got to put the damn email up there. God damn it. Everybody already knows what it is. Check your emails, brothers. Yeah, I got it. I got it, brother Renaissance. Check your email. Yeah, so I want y'all to come on up here, man, and you know, maybe you disagree with the counselor. Maybe you disagree. That's fine too. That's fine too. You know, I didn't have her for long, y'all, because you know, she told me that she couldn't stay long when we spoke. You know, I think she was only supposed to stay for like an hour. You know, but I can get them to stay. You know, a little extra. You know, squeeze a few questions out of them. You know, but yeah, if you disagree with her, that's fine too. If you're in the California area, maybe you can kind of, you know, maybe give a glimpse into your experience with the California criminal justice system as well. So you can do that as well. Because you know these laws have a tendency to vary from state to state, you know. They have a tendency to vary from state to state. So what's going on in California ain't necessarily what's going on in New York or Jersey or down here in North Carolina, if you will. Brother Renaissance, what's good with it, man?
Hey, what's up, X? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. What's good with it?
No, nothing much. No, I just wanted to come up quickly. I thought that was a great interview. I thought it was great that you brought an attorney. She seems like she's well accomplished.
Hmm.
I think it's great that you brought her on the show. I am a little bit disappointed when you look at the numbers for people who are watching as many problems as we as black men have with the criminal justice system.
Hmm.
I would hope there would be more turnout for something like this, but it doesn't seem to always generate the most turnout when you compare it to other shows.
Yeah, well, I chalk it up to, you know, being smashed in between the heavy hitters. You know, this is a tough time slot, man. This is a time slot because there's so many heavy hitters on either side of you, you know,
Yeah,
so that this is a very, very tough time slot. But this is the time slot I've rocked out for like 2 years now. So, you know,
yeah,
I'm kind of used to doing it this time. And this is the best time for me, the best days
yeah,
for me. So, you
absolutely.
know, it
No,
is what it is.
it was like I said. I would like to see more interest in things like this. The one thing I did think that was interesting that she brought up, she talked about the system and various things which I think are very important in the system as far as contributing to the high incarceration.
Hmm.
The one element, because I've actually had to study this when I was in college doing an internship um, with incarceration, and this sort of gets missed in a lot of these discussions, and I think you'll have an appreciation for it. Is when you look at a lot of these guys that end up in jail or in prison long term, a lot of these guys are functionally illiterate.
Yeah.
A lot of them can't read or struggle with reading and things like that. And that essentially puts you out of the labor force. And I think, that goes back to, kind of what the discussion we were having on BMT the other day about the failing schools in Baltimore and who do you put it on, the parents or the school system. I mean, to me, that when we see what happened in Baltimore, we'll in 10, if not even 10 years, maybe in 3 or 4 years, if that, we'll start to see some of the fallout of all this of kid, and we've probably already seen it because we don't know how long it's been going on, of people ending up in jail and prison behind all this, and the poor school system and lack of parental involvement is going to be a major culprit that we don't really talk about in all this.
Yeah. And I harp on parenting. You know me, I'm these old mama's man. I harp on parenting because I think nothing serves a child better than a very involved parent. I don't have a problem with the quote unquote helicopter mom, if you will, because the helicopter mom is at the school. The helicopter mom is checking the report card. The helicopter mom is checking, the homework. So, it's a lot of this stuff can be avoided. The criminal justice system is jammed up, as the attorney just got finished talking about. But at the same time, I think the best deterrent from prison is an involved parent. I mean,
absolutely. I was going to ask you. I know you said you've had sons, and she talked about she basically had a bunch of stress every time. I don't have any kids. Her parents, her son left the house. How did you deal with that raising boys of just, because I'm sure you had to, because I think about it now, if I ever had a son, there's part of me that's like, I can teach him all these things, but at the end of the day, he's still, until at least, there's evidence that says men's brain don't even fully develop till they're 25. So, that's 25 years I gotta, be comfortable with you leaving the house, having some interaction, and it not going left and just destroying everything you worked for. So I was just curious, like, your opinion. And you said that you had family members that had gone down the path of being incarcerated. What did you see that made the difference in your boys and your life as well?
Well,
good question.
Yeah, and I'll shift it. So what's good with it, brother AJ?
What's going on with brother X?
I will shift it over to brother AJ as well, because he too has sons. And one thing that I did, like I told Mrs. Dixon, you find yourself having these talks, with your sons a lot, about the cops, about the criminal justice system, especially once they start driving. And, my sons are good sized guys. They've always been big. I mean, my oldest son, man, he's like 6'6". My other son is 6'4". They're bigger than me. So you got these young guys, they're big old black guys, and when you're a big black guy, you're looked at different. I mean, you just are. You stick out because you're taller than every damn body. You're big, you're burly, you're black. So, you're going to be looked at different by the criminal justice system, and you're definitely going to be looked at different by the police. And these are the things. Somebody got some echo. Kill it.
Is it me?
It's whoever just joined the panel.
All right. Okay. And these things I had to talk about with my sons. I mean, my sons are in their 30s now, but when they were younger, I mean, we were having these kind of talks like all the time. It wasn't like you talked about it one time, you sit down along with the birds and the bees talk. No, these were talks that were happening, throughout, their raising, throughout their upbringing. I mean, you're constantly having these talks, man. And I've had these talks with my sons within the last couple of years. And like I said, I mean, they're fathers now, and they're in their 30s now, and we've talked about this in like the last year or two. So it's one of those things where when your sons are young and they're living with you, you got to let them grow up. You don't want your 16, 17-year-old son, you don't want to tell him, don't go out the house. But every time he leaves that house, you're hoping that he's thinking the right way, conducting himself the right way, so that he can return to that house. That's how you're thinking. I mean, how else can you think? You're hoping that he does the right things. You're hoping that He follows the guidelines. He follows the things that you've told him. You hope that you've instilled enough instincts in the young fella that when he go out, you always know he gonna return. I always dreaded the day, man, that I would get that phone call, man, and somebody tell me that my boy done been shot, my son done been shot. I mean, I dreaded that day. Should I still do? I still do. And like I said, they're in their 30s and have wives and stuff. I still dread that day. And I have grandsons. I mean, my oldest grandson, he's 12. Guess what? Him and I have had this talk. We've had this talk. Me, him, and his dad. We sit down and we still. I don't think the talks ever end. I don't think they can ever end. I think they should be on a regular basis. Kept fresh in their mind. So they don't forget. So they have a baseline understanding of what's out there. You don't want them to be paranoid, but you want them to be prepared. You want them to be prepared. So that's what I always did. I always try to prepare my sons. And thankfully, my sons never ended up, a freaking hashtag or a damn story on the news.
Yeah, and sadly, it comes from both sides. Unfortunately, you have to worry about the people in their own community, and then you have to worry about law enforcement and how they're viewed outside of. So it's like you're surrounded on both sides. It's sad to say.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Having sons, man, is people say it's tough raising daughters, and I agree because I have 2 sons and 2 daughters.
But
you don't have to worry about the same things, man. You just don't. You don't really have to worry about the same things. Go ahead, AJ. You got it,
brother X. Because I get tired of this. Like we keep talking about with law enforcement. Like why can't we enforce our own situation? I'm tired of hearing like law enforcement be our threat. That don't make sense. Because in this day and age, why can't we enforce our own neighborhoods?
I think there are too many brothers who take I shouldn't say the black community in general. I think takes the mentality of, okay, we don't like the police, but we stop there. We don't take it as, okay, we don't like the police in the current state, so we're going to go take over the policing institutions in our cities and towns, and we're going to reform them into what we believe they should be.
Right, but that's my thing. Why not us become our own police? Why don't we enforce our own thing we do in our own communities?
Should we leave it up? Should we leave it up to that though? Like, I mean, hold
on. See, the problem, and me and you argue. Well, not me and you, brother X, but other people you come on, your other guests that come on here that I keep trying to call them out, especially the younger guys, the Gen X. Well, I'm a Gen X, the Gen Zs and the other guys. Why not turn around and become police? Why not turn around, become something that we could turn around and be able to help the community?
I agree 100%. We've let people demonize it and say, oh, if you're a police, you're bad. We haven't let people say, let's go join the police and take it over and turn it into what we need. Same thing with the military.
Yeah, facts. And I'm a veteran, but I'm just saying, even now, I'm a Gen X. My military experience 20 years ago. But still, who's still running the military? Who's still running the police force? Who's still running the fucking communities?
Well, that kind of stuff isn't necessarily encouraged when you talking about young black men. I mean, we like to encourage our sons to become basketball players, football players, baseball players, rappers, entertainers, all that kind of nonsense. I mean, you don't, because I got people in my own family. I mean, I got sisters and shit like that who say, oh, I don't want my son to go to the military. I don't want my son to become a cop. He might get killed. Walk right on his front porch and get shot in the head.
I had seen when I was when I worked at the hospital, it was a 6'5" guy that was walking through there, and they came at him like he was walking through there. He probably was gonna get vaccinated. He probably was a veteran, and they asked him like, "Why are you here?" And he was just like, "Well, I'm finna get my shot." They're like, "Well, you play basketball?" He said, "No."
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what we
And
we drive our
they
kids
felt
to this
like
shit.
they was disappointed. They was like the nurses was like, well, what? He's like, no. He was just like, I work, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Just because you're 6'5" doesn't mean you're gonna make the NBA. I mean,
you mean to tell me you're a big black guy and you don't play basketball?
You ain't play basketball. I was like, I just sat back and his face expression when they came at him, and I was just like, wow. And I'm 6'1", and I'm looking at him like that. See, we need to stop this shit, man.
Yeah. I've seen that before. Hey, what's good?
He probably was a doctor. No telling what he was studying for. But the black women addressed to him as like, whoa, like you're tall.
My sons have gotten that too, because my sons are tall guys.
Right.
You know, like I said, my oldest son is like 6'6". You know, and my youngest son is 6'4". They taller than me. I'm only 6'2".
Okay.
You know, yeah, my sons, them dudes, they big old dudes. You know, they bigger than me. I still knuckle them up.
Right.
You know,
I ain't big brother. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I ain't trying to fight my boys. My boys get up, man.
They get out of line, goddamn it. I'm trying to get out of line because you bigger than the old man. That shit don't mean nothing to me. But you know, they're big guys, so you know they kind of get that too, you know, because they're tall dudes or whatever. And you know, people expect, because my oldest son, I mean, he's an electrical engineer, and my youngest son's a master carpenter. So, you know, they have nothing to do with sports, you know, but people see them, you know, especially when we together, you know, they want, oh, these guys play basketball. Hell no, they didn't play no basketball. I can probably dunk in their face, and I'm in my 50s. I dunk in their face.
But I think it goes to a bunch of you saying there's a bunch of women that said that. I think it goes to even the women of our community. That's how they view black men largely. That's how they come out and make money or gonna contribute big time to the community. Is they gonna go be an athlete and go make $1 million somewhere.
Right, but real sons, man, that's a great point that you made. But okay, if you're gonna do that, I mean, put him in a fucking atmosphere that he could be able to become in that. They don't do that. If you look at the community and with these black women, they don't raise these boys to be able to come out of that and be successful. They don't do that because them households be fucked up. Respectfully.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. But we've been joined by the power of offense. Peace, brother. What's good with it?
Peace. How you doing, brother?
Peace. What's up, bro?
Everyone on the panel.
What's going on, man?
Man, I just wanted to chime as I agree that you brothers just says, if you want to change the system, because that's one of the things I wanted to put back on what the attorney said, because she said that in order to change the system, that we need diverse justice. This is what she said, and she also said the demand sensitivity. And in my opinion, that's not the answer. Is first.
Hold on. Power of offense. You doubling up. You know, it's like an echo. It's like she said.
Hold on,
what?
I think it's coming from me. Hold on, guys.
You sure?
I think it's coming from me. Hold on. Let me mute up. My bad.
That's you?
Yeah, it's probably from me. My bad.
Okay. Go ahead and say some power of offense.
Can you hear me better now?
Nope, it's still doubling. Try dropping down and coming back on. That usually gets it.
Okay.
Brother AJ, go ahead and unmute Brother AJ and make sure it's.
Can y'all hear me? I'm sorry. Y'all hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Okay.
It was other brothers, Mike.
Yeah, he just
but no, I mean, Renaissance man, you made a great point, and you too, T.P.O.T. But you know how I am, man. These households are effed up, man, and we're trying to change the narrative, but are we really changing the narrative though? At the end of the day, though.
Yeah.
Well, we're just gonna be in reaction mode. If we don't fix the households, we're gonna be in reaction mode because you know the system's always gonna be a step ahead. If we can level the playing field, to be honest, I don't think the system is that clever as far as, because she even said if you just had everyone say, hey, we're going to trial, the system would collapse.
Yeah.
So we just got to stop playing from behind and putting ourselves behind the 8 ball.
Agreed.
Yeah, good point,
Agreed.
man. That was some real shit. Brother X, I'm gonna let the other brother. I'll mute up Keith. Keith, I don't know what he got to say, but I'm gonna mute up.
Okay. Power up and Fitz, you got it.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it's a little bit of feedback, but I think it's not so much that we can't deal with it. Go ahead, you got it.
Basically, I agree with everything that the brothers were saying as far as we need to join the system. If we want the system, we have to participate. So that's one of the things. One of the other ways to change the system is that we have to become knowledgeable and informed. The law is. See, what I find, is that most of us, especially black, right, we are not familiar with of this country. Understand how the system, and we always depend on like attorneys to enlighten us on how these things work when all of the laws are public law, meaning anybody can read it. Anybody can read case law to learn how the judges even interpret this stuff. To me, solution. We have to inform bills. We can't wait for anyone. I'll give you a reason why I'm saying this. One of the things the sister said, right?
You still echoing. You still echoing and feedbacking, man. Something's going on over there. You got 2 mics on or something?
No, actually,
I don't know what it is. You getting feedback and you still echoing. You echoing like every 5-10 seconds. You getting like a double up.
So
and I can hear myself. You got us on? Do you got YouTube on in the background or something?
Yeah, you got to cut your YouTube off. Yeah, because you crackling. You sound good right now, but
yeah.
How
I can
about
still
now?
hear myself.
Yeah,
I can still hear myself.
It's an echo. Hey, Brother X, man, I wanna do a challenge with you, man, with me, man. Put me out there, man. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, man. I need to do that.
When you talking about doing it, next week is open. Next week is open. Next
Put me up.
Thursday.
Put me up.
Thursday.
Put me up.
Unless you want to do it this week. I don't know.
I want to because I need to do this week, man. I got some suitors, man. They keep coming at me, Brother X.
Oh, so when you talking about doing it, you want to do it Saturday?
I want the challenge. I want the challenge.
We doing the AJ challenge, right?
Yes, sir.
Taking on all comers. Are you taking on all comers?
Everybody.
All right, I'll book it. Next Thursday.
Yeah.
Next Thursday, it's on.
Man.
It's on. I got you.
Me up there. Anything you need from me, Brother X, email me.
I don't need nothing. All I need is a photo, and I already got that. So I don't need nothing.
I'm making sure. Yeah.
I don't need nothing.
Yeah, because I don't need practice, man. They keep coming at me, and I need to go ahead and get this situated. But to Keith, look, bro, like I keep saying, and Renaissance man, he made some great points. But what is the end goal though? I think that's why I rock with my brother X. Like when we look at the title and we sit there and see that, like how can we sit there and turn around and try to fucking come with a solution? Excuse my language, brothers. I'm sorry. That we could be able to come with a solution to solve this. We never can because we just go in circles with each other. All we do is just cuss each other out, and at the end of the day, the problem still goes on.
Yeah, well, you know me. I believe that I don't believe in trying to change grown people.
Mm-hmm.
That's just where
I agree too.
That's just where I'm at.
Good point.
If you 30 years old, I don't think I can really change you. I might can change 1 out of 50,000 of you 30 years old. The other 49,999. There's nothing I can do about that. No, I mean, I focus more on the little ones. Yeah. And because I have grandchildren. All my offspring are adults. All right, they're adults. They got their own lives and wives and husbands and houses and all that kind of stuff. But I think about the little ones because the little ones can still be shaped and molded. And you know me, I quote a quote from Frederick Douglass all the time. And I'm going to say it now, then I'm gonna turn it over to Brother Power of Offense. And you've heard me say it before, Brother AJ.
I know where you're going. Great quote.
It is easier to raise strong children than it is to repair broken men.
Facts.
Yep, great quote.
That's just where I'm at with it, man. That's where I'm at. If you're a broken man, I think I'm kind of wasting my time trying to repair you when that time can be invested in a smaller child who you can shape, mold, have an effect on their mentality, before they've grown up into this person who, ain't gonna do nothing but knock old ladies in the head and rob liquor stores.
But brother X, I mean, respectfully, but don't we argue about this though on the daily?
Yeah, we do.
We do.
We do. We do.
We do.
We do. I think we gotta focus on the little ones, man. I mean, that's just where I'm at this point. I mean, because I have children that are, my youngest kid is 23. All right. My oldest kid is 35, about to be 36. So, I mean, I have kids of different ages. My other son, he's 34. My daughter's about to turn 30. And like I said, my baby, she's 23. So, I mean, I have kids of, a couple different generations. So it's like, I look at them and I'm like, they're adults and they're doing, whatever they're doing out there in the world. And only thing I can hope is that I've influenced them enough, to be constructive, not only in their lives, but constructive in, their children's lives and their mates' lives. That's all I can hope for with them. They're adults, if they do happen to become broken or are broken, there's not a whole hell of a lot I can do for them, man. But, and they're my kids. All right. They're mine. They're mine. What am I going to do with my oldest? Say he's 36 years old and he doing crazy shit. What I'm supposed to do about that? What? Sit him down like he a little boy and be like, don't do drugs anymore, son. Don't steal cars anymore, son. I mean, come on, man.
But like you said, a lot of this stuff starts in the youth and teenage years, and it doesn't get nipped in the butt.
Nope.
That's the thing.
Yeah, nope. Good point.
Nope. Yep. You back now, Power of Offense?
Yes, I'm back. And hopefully it's going. If it's not,
you sound good. Finish your notation. I'm going here. I'm gonna keep hearing what you was making. You was making some good points.
You got it before you start echoing again. Go ahead. You got it.
Okay. I just wanted to make the point that I definitely agree that we have to join the side. I've already said that, but I also want to state that we have to also learn how it functions. The reason being that one of the things the attorney said when she was on the show, made a statement. She where she said that we have a lot of judges that's sitting on the bench, and I'm referencing out in California. And my thing is this: judges are supposed to be impartial and unbiased. Now, the courts or the judicial government is not a representative branch of government, meaning non-political. So they're not supposed to operate as a liberal or as a conservative. They're to treat the law and deal with the law on this. Their job is to interpret the law. I wouldn't know if I knew the law or if I didn't study those prudence for myself. I would just trust whatever an attorney tells me and believe that to be true. Now I can prove what I'm saying, and I can prove it through case law, where the courts are basically saying what I'm saying right now is exactly what the courts. Their duty is to interpret law, not to operate as or a conservative.
I agree with you. But
Mhm.
it's this whole qualified immunity crap that police have. It was created by the Supreme Court. So
Very true.
I mean, they're obviously making, if they're not making law, they are taking part directly into making policy as
Yeah,
far as law
facts.
enforcement goes.
Well,
Facts.
correct it, brother Xavier. Judge made law, right, is law because their duty is to interpret the law. So the legislature enacts the law, but the interpretation of what it means. What the judge is saying is the effect of the law. Trying to say.
Okay, but if you look at basically the overall of who's basically empowered, I mean, allowing this, that's where we keep going wrong at. Because see, we need to turn around and vote. You know me. I'm not saying you, Keith.
Right.
I'm just saying in general. That's why we need to vote for our own our best interests, and that's what we keep going wrong at.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
Where we keep going wrong at, and that's why we got these judges and all that. They vote against our narrative, man.
I agree.
Yeah.
And just because they're black don't mean they follow the same agenda that we do. See, that's
Oh,
another
yeah,
thing. Like I heard her say.
Hell no.
But at the same time, Keith, see, that's why I'm trying to keep it, because brother X know me. I could be like really raw with it. Like I go crazy with it. But at the same time, I'm on his channel and I love this brother, man. I love brother X, man. This is my bro. So I try to keep it vanilla. But at the same time, though,
vanilla. I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that shit.
I'm respectful, brother X.
Keep
but
it
at
vanilla.
the same time, though, I mean, these movements, are they really supporting black man movements though, Keith? At the end of the day, no, they're not. But what we doing though? I mean, it's instead of becoming a division with us, because we got the educated lane, we got the pookies and all this shit. We keep dividing ourselves. We need to stop doing this shit.
You're right.
I'm with you, bro. I mean, me personally, because I mean, brother X, man, and he'll tell you, man. Like I tell you, anybody in the door, I'm pookie, but I'm like I'm able to change my situation, and that's the only reason I do that, because I reach out to the other brothers who came from a household when his mother was just fucking downing him all the whole time. He didn't have a choice, and I'm telling him like, bro, you do.
Right.
And that's
Right.
and that's my narrative. That's me. That's AJ narrative. I don't try to fight against the educated lanes, the guys that did it right. Everybody that's doing their thing. I mean, me personally, I'm trying to get these brothers on board, man. When they mothers just, hey, brother X, can you do that? These, oh my, can I get that from you, brother X?
These old mamas.
Thank you. That be destroying they damn sons. And I'm the one that's trying to turn around and tell them, like, hey, you can make something of yourself.
Let me say this. I agree with you 100%, AJ. But I'm like this. We and all of us see this. Black women operate as their own political. They do a group within another one, which we want the Democratic Party. It's articles on this. Black women are considered the backbone of the black community. Black women are considered the backbone of the Democratic Party. Black women are considered the backbone of our democracy. Although we don't have it, right? Now Kamala Harris said that, but we don't even have a democracy.
But I'm okay with that though, Keith. But I'm okay with that. But why the fuck is you sitting there? You sitting back, you down in your sons though. At the same time, you like if you look at the Democratic Party, which consists of what? Usually white people and all that. And I'm not finna even go into that.
Progressive.
It could be black women. But do you see black men being propped up in that fucking?
Not at all. Not at all. I agree with you. Not at all.
I got to push back a little bit on that in the sense of
Heterosexual black men.
Go ahead, Reed, son.
I got to push back a little bit on that, as I do think the slogans and themes that you do see a lot of that. I will say, I think at the top of power, there are black men, if you look at it currently. Now, whether you want to say those brothers represent the interest of everyday working class or, just middle class black men, that's a whole nother conversation. But I look at men like obviously Barack Obama, Cedric
I'm glad
Richmond.
you said that, because that's why I'm going to come at you.
Well, Cedric Richmond, James Clyburn, Jamie Harrison, who's the head of the DNC. I look at Raphael Warnock, which him and Cory.
But hold on, real son.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did Barack did for black men when he was in office?
Nothing explicitly. He did try to do something. He did try to do something for my brothers.
And then what happened?
Oh yeah, you got pushback from the women. I agree on all of those fronts. Now, as far as him doing something specifically for black men, I don't think black men were organized in a manner to ask and say, this is what we want. And there was a small window for that.
Hold on, so give me a time that we ever been organized.
Oh, the 60s we were organized.
No, I'm saying now. I mean, even in the 60s though, but I mean prior, like now. But I mean, I don't think in the 60s, no, because Renaissance is where you go wrong at. No, we wasn't organized. In the 60s, they was married.
Wait, who are you talking about? Are you talking about
black men? Black men was married in the 60s. They wasn't organized.
What are you saying, that because they were married, the women by default they benefited by proxy?
No, it wasn't by that. They was basically going off that the teaching that basically the man was the leader of the household back then in the 60s.
Okay, I see what you're. No, I don't think black men have been organized in the modern era, other than really. I mean, I don't even think that counts the Million Man March.
No, I give you that, but I'm just saying. I mean, let me kind of put this to you though. When you said towards with Obama though, I mean personally. Do you really think? Okay, let me ask you. This is a question, real sons. Good point. You made a great point. Do you think with a black president, do we have to been organized?
Oh, absolutely. Politicians do not do things unless they are forced to do them.
Facts. All right, cool. All right. And I will say, I'm just saying, as black men, do you think with Obama, did Obama was able to make us organize as black men?
No, I don't. I think everyone kind of got caught up in the whole, we have a black president. Now, he did do some things on criminal justice as far as, crack the powder cocaine sentencing, but you didn't see, and to be honest with you, I don't know if you're going to ever see anything that says explicitly for black men when you come to legislation. I think because they don't even do that for corporations. You have to sort of get them sort of what they did with this farm relief for black farmers. You kind of got to slide that in to bigger legislation, and people got to be aware enough to go get it. But
Renaissance, do you know that's what they was trying to throw out there, like because of Obama, that we had them laws from him that we was organized as black men?
Oh no, anybody who says that, I would fundamentally disagree on that.
Thank you. My bad, y'all. Go ahead, brother X and Keith. My bad.
Well, overall, especially when you're talking about in mainstream society, whether it be the criminal justice system or politics or anything else, in this country, black men are disposable, man. They're expendable. There's never going to be anything like geared towards black men, and if it is, it's going to be black men who freaking initiate it. It's not going to be anyone else. It's definitely not going to be the criminal justice system. It's definitely not going to be government or not even local government, for that matter. Forget the federal government. That's out. But even local government.
What I be trying to say, brother X, and let's be real about this situation. And a lot of people is not going to like what I'm going to say, but I need to say this. Like, black men out of labor of the society. They're the labor. Like, you look at black men, what do? They in the prisons doing what?
Making all kinds of shit.
They're turning around. They're in the lower tier of the jobs doing what? They're the laborers.
But AJ, I'll give you a better example. When you look at the NCAA and look at this all during COVID, look at how much of these schools were trying to have a football season and, you know, basketball and keep this going. Because guess what? If those guys don't play, all these college towns, the amount of revenue they're going to lose.
That's what I'm
These
saying.
I mean, if black men walked away from collegiate sports, I mean, watch probably 75% of the
That's a great
educational
point.
institutions
That's a great point. I
fall
was
apart
even
in this
thinking
country.
about that. Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. But
Labor
but
and entertainment. That's
But
what that's
do we
what they
think
want from
about
black
that?
men.
we
Labor
don't
and
think about
entertainment.
that shit. We don't think about that because you got usually these households consist of what? These mothers that consist of these boys that if they have these boys that turn around have to be in these damn schools that turn around got to entertain these dudes and make the money, man. Like, man, that hey, y'all be making some great points, man. I'm gonna shut the fuck up, man. I'm a Pookie.
Yep.
Pookie need to shut the fuck up.
Let's go to Keith.
Let me
Keith,
throw this out there.
You got it.
Well, I want to throw this out there real quick. That's the fact that like 88% black men here in America voted for Joe Biden as his president, and you have Joe Biden. Joe supports open borders. Now I don't know if anyone on here is crisis at the southern border right now, and
I'm not even rocking with Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden. But go ahead, bro.
Man, no, the one thing is that the fact that we are the labor class at large here in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
When these illegals come in here, so the jobs that these illegals are labor taking jobs from us, and then on top of that, they drive down the wages. It's reports done for government. And
But that's what but at the same time, Keith, man, you made a great point. But that's what I'm like, we need to start. No, I mean, with us, start realizing, like, I mean, why keep doing the labor shit? Like, why not turn around and start doing our own, getting our own businesses, man? Because the opportunity is there now. Because, like you said, man, you made a great point. Because you see what the Democrats doing, they're allowing these motherfuckers come in. They've been doing this. And this way, it wasn't even with the Democrats, the Republicans, even with Trump, they was allowing it, but Trump was doing it, low key. But man, we need to start having our own businesses, man. We need to stop doing this goofy ass shit. We need to start coming together, start having our own shit, and doing our thing, man. Hey, Keith, great point. Great point.
Thank you too.
But the thing is, what are we going to do about it? Because I think more of us, we need to start accumulating wealth.
We've got to skill up if we want to do that. In my opinion.
That's what I was just about to say, Brother Renaissance. Because as a small business owner myself, I mean, I've ran my business for 7 years now. All right. And to be honest, everybody's not cut out for running their own business. They're just not. I mean, when I started my business, and this story, you've been around me a long time, Brother AJ. The first 2 years of my business, my shit almost flopped. All right. We're doing good now. We're actually expanding this year, and we've risen over the past 3 years. We've risen in our receipts and our business accounts by about 35% every year. So we're good. We're stable now, but not everybody can do it, my brother. Because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do.
I know, but hold on, T.P.O.T, Brother X, don't. If they coming from a single mother home, I mean, how can they? So, like you and other brothers like yourself, that's channels that's teaching them. I mean, we need more. We need more of this.
The other thing I wanted to quickly ask you too, X, if you don't mind me asking, were you married in the middle of all this?
Well, when I met my wife, I mean, me and my wife, we're going to be celebrating our 20th anniversary in April.
Okay, congratulations. By the way.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna come stunt. I'm probably gonna fly out there and come stunt with you, brother. I need to go meet brother. Man, brother, I love this, bro, man. I'm gonna come through. Fly out there.
Come through. When I met my wife, this is the crazy thing, you know, because I listen to the talk, you know, about all this stuff, you know, with males and females and all this kind of stuff. I've known my wife for like 23 years now. We hung out. We were like, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, and all that kind of crap for 2 years. And, you know, we eventually got married, obviously. But when I met my wife, I was just a 9-to-5er. I mean, I just had a job like everybody else. You know, she owned her own business when I met her. So, you know, I was the 9-to-5er. She was the damn business owner. So I just started my business 7 years ago. I mean, the field that I'm in, man, I've been in the field for like 30 years. But I always did it, you know, I always did mechanical engineering and power mechanics for other people. All right. I did it for white folks, boy, for 2 decades. So, I mean, we had got married, and I kind of, well, I don't want to say I joined into her business, but I took some responsibilities for it because it was her business. You know, we were married. So, you know, I did, you know, make sure, you know, the books were straight, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know, if something needed to be done around there, I did it. You know, that was part of it. And to this day, you know, my wife still has that business to this day.
Well,
but
the
I was
point
I was a 9-to-5er myself.
The direction I was going is, you know, I hear a lot of rhetoric in this space, and it can be very anti-family. But, you know, when I was in school, I had a lady who was a teacher who owned a business, and she always talked about, you know, when the husbands were running the businesses, the wives held down the 9-to-5 so they could get health insurance. So I'm saying when you have a partner and a helpmate there to help you who's on board with your program, it just seems like it makes things a lot easier.
You know, and I'm tired of y'all. Y'all need to stop doing this because y'all in the black atmosphere, man.
What's that?
You got Brother X just basically breaking it down that his wife is down with him, man. And I've been with him, Brother X, for years. And we need to stop doing that, man. Stop taking the assumptions because you got Brother X right now, you on his channel showing as a black man in the black manosphere that his black wife is supporting him. So we need to stop doing this shit.
Well, of course she support me now. I make more money than she do.
hey, brother. Hey, man, I love you, bro.
I make more money than she do. So, you know, supporting me is the only way to go, you know, at this point.
but hey, look, we need to stop doing this, man. It's the black manosphere, man. We having fun, man. And it's a pleasure, man. I guess I got to keep stepping up, man. I'm gonna step up. But come on, like, damn, like, really? Come on.
Yeah, well, you got to look at it this way. Then we're gonna go to cause I see we got Brother Chaos up here. And Keith and Brother Keith is back too, I believe. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
The thing is this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, y'all know, you know, I've known, like I said, man, I've known my wife like 23, 24 years. You know, and 20 of those years we've been married. So it was right for me. All right. Marriage is just like anything else, man. Marriage is like living in certain neighborhoods, working certain jobs, being around certain people. I mean, it's not for everybody. I mean, that would be the equivalent of me coming up here and telling everybody, well, you should be a mechanical engineer like me. I mean, it's not for everybody. So, you know, for me to get up here and say, all you dudes, all y'all need to get married. Every single one of y'all need to get married because I did it would be absurd. because see, I realized that it's not for everybody. It was right for me. That don't mean it's right for AJ. That don't mean it's right for Chaos. That don't mean it's right for Renaissance or Power of Vince, because it's right for me. So what I think brothers should do is this. I always tell people I want to see brothers at peace. I want to see brothers content with their lives. I want to see brothers succeed. I want brothers to win. I do. I want brothers to win. And whatever takes place with you winning, whether it be you getting married, you not getting married, you being an entrepreneur, or working at somebody's job from 9 to 5, whatever you consider a win for you, guess what? That's a win for you.
Facts.
That's a win for you. I mean, I may look at it and be like, well, I wouldn't have did that way, but it doesn't matter. I'm not living that life. So what's a win for you may not be considered a win for Brother Renaissance. And likewise, what's considered a win for Brother Renaissance may not be necessarily a win for Brother Power of Offense. I mean,
but the only reason I said this though, now I'm gonna go ahead and let them chime in, Brother X, because you had this confusion and he come in, people blah, blah, blah. I just want to have a good dialect, good conversation with everybody. I don't want nobody to be saying you a lame, you a simp, and all that shit. So that's all I'm saying. So
and what's good with it, Brother Chaos? Paging Brother Chaos.
Yeah, I'm here.
Paging
I'm here.
Brother Chaos.
I'm just checking out something. Look like the United States dollar got a coin now on Coinbase now. I just saw it on the app. Look like they're now stepping into the digital space now.
So did you catch the discussion with the attorney?
I catch only the middle part of it. She said some things at the end that I could probably agree with. Because that certain judge should experience jail life for a little bit to see how it is. That's one that I remember. I also remember in regards to it slipped my mind. She said some things. About how she knows the people that made things, they give credit to black people, but we don't own or control the intellectual property and manufacture our own besides to others, which she's very much aware of, which I hope you didn't pay attention to. That we make other people's rich, and that's only some that black people, we have to really get that under control. Because so many people getting rich off our intellectual property, our creations, and we're not even getting the piece of the whole pie of this. So that's something we need to start straightening up. So
that's the history of this country.
Yep.
And only us could change that. They're not no job change that anytime soon because they make money off us. So they say, we'll keep using intellectual property, make money, especially with the white boys that's in the cannabis business, where now she did reveal that you had to go through a third party. You had to have go by the white boys to get a foot into this economic circle of cannabis.
Yeah, she said that.
That's a problem. A lot of our black men get locked up for cannabis that grew this shit, smoked this shit, sell this shit, and now that because they're trying to get complete control of this market, once every state is completely legal, that they easily push the black man out of this market completely.
Yeah.
So now I said, what niggas gonna do? Because they can't sell the little weed now. Wait, so now you're trying to go to more deadly crimes so we could do more time in jail?
Well, when you talking about, like starting a dispensary, like she was talking about, she said, not many black people own these dispensaries.
Yeah.
I mean, that's starting a business, right? And for some reason, it just doesn't seem like that many brothers are interested in it. Because number one, it's hard to start a business without money. I mean, you got to have some type of money, some type of capital, some type of investment. You got to have, something, to start it off with. And what I think happens often is that people don't have the capital to get it started. Because starting a business, man, ain't easy. I mean, because I started my business with nothing, and that shit wasn't easy, man. I didn't get a bank loan. There's no bank loan to start my shit. So, I mean, I know that these things are not easy to do, and I don't think starting a dispensary is necessarily this easy thing either, even though it's been legalized and all this kind of stuff. I don't think that's made it any easier, for brothers to get into it because you need the same type of capital, investment, resources, an amount of savings or something, to get it started. So the problem didn't change just because they legalized the weed. What
Yeah.
I think happened is they just created something else that's just unattainable for some brothers.
And she's in California, so I think probably you're going to run into some restrictions on licensing because I've heard people say like that you got licenses that cost almost $50,000 to obtain to go get in
Yeah.
that industry.
Yeah, who got that just laying around? I mean, if you had that just laying around, you probably wouldn't be starting a business. You'd probably be doing some other shit. So, who just got fit? Because I know if it costed me $50,000 to get my shit started, guess what? I'll probably still be a 9 to 5. I might be working at Walmart or some shit like that. If if I had to lay down 50 racks first to get it all going, nah, man, it probably would have never started. So there is that. Um, what I think is a big problem though is that you have these things and you say, well, people say, well, brothers need to start their own businesses. And guess what? I totally agree. But see, to be able to start your business, you have to be capable of being a boss. You have to be capable of thinking with an ownership mind state. You have to be a planner. You have to know a little bit of accounting. You have to know, trust me, it's not the easiest thing to walk into. So if brothers want to start businesses, they have to do like Brother Renaissance said and skill up. They got to be able to skill up. All right. So they can scale up. It's hard to scale up without skilling up first. I'm telling you, it's like virtually impossible because you can't just jump up and open a business. I hear people say that, oh, I'll open a business. Okay. What's your first move? Are you going to lease a building? Are you going to start it out of your house? Do you know what your top end is going to be? Do you know what your bottom line is going to be? Do you know what your accounts payable is going to be? Do you know what your accounts receivable are going to be? You have to have all this stuff kind of, in your toolbox, and whatever business you plan on jumping into, you better have do the research on it along with skilling up on it. All right. As Brother Renaissance said, you have to do some reading. You have to make some phone calls. You have to, talk to some people who were in the business for a while. All that stuff has to take place. You can't just wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm going to start a business in doing X, Y, and Z. And you don't know jack diddly squat about the industry.
That's what
Go
you
ahead.
hit the nail on the head on. I think you said you used to work in your industry for 20 years for others.
Yeah.
See, that's
Yeah.
the thing people overlook is a lot of guys who start businesses go work for someone else for say 5 to 10 years. Okay, I understand the industry. Now let me go and branch out on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the only reason I didn't start my business earlier is because number one, my ass was in New York and the damn taxes will strangle you there. And, my kids were still young. My kids were still kind of young. My baby, she was still young. And, I just, it was something I had to do. I needed my kids to grow up first. I needed my kids to grow up, get out the damn way, and not have to spend money on them. I had that little problem. So, once the kids started, because when I started my business, my baby, she was 16. Everybody else, they were already grown. My oldest daughter, she was like she was like 24 at the time. My other son, he was like 26 or 27 at the time. My oldest son, so my other kids were grown. My other son was like 29, 30 at the time. So, once my baby got to be like 16, I was like, shit, man, I ain't got no more little kids. I only got this one kid that I'm responsible for, so just made it easier. All of that played into it, man. My life was ready for it then. Some of us, our lives aren't ready for it, man. You can't afford to throw down $10,000, to get a building and buy equipment and shit. Cause you got like 3 kids you gotta feed and shit. You can't just lay out 10 grand and do all this bullshit. I get it. I understand it, man. Cause I lived it. I lived it. I would have loved to have started my business when I was like 26, 27, 20. I would have loved it. Shit, I might be retiring now, but it wasn't there. The money wasn't there. It just wasn't there to do it. And, I had a good job. I was making decent money, but the money wasn't there to just lay out, to just kind of, jump up, just jump into an arena. And, when you got little kids, man, you kind of like that steady income coming in every week. That's something you want happening. You're not willing to take as many risks, when you have small children. I mean, I'm an old fella now. I can take some risk. It won't hurt that bad if shit goes south. You can't afford necessarily to afford to take that risk, man, when you got little ones, man, that you got to feed and shit, man. I get it. I get it totally, man. I do. But go ahead. I see Power of Offense is back. You got it, brother.
I with everything you said, brother X. To me, down to at the end of the day, some of them, man, we must take faith. You know what I mean? Because our problem more than anything is really economical. It's a social problem more than anything. You know, example. You have Asians that are here, and we large population of Asians in America, and they are underrepresented in politics, right? You don't see Asian American politics yet. Asian men, outpace even white men as far as they that right there in itself proves that the issue is really economic.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
But they focus on things that are in demand, mainly STEM careers.
Yeah.
Math intensive, science intensive, things that we tend to avoid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we weren't groomed to do it, man. I mean, you got to think like this, man. And when you go to these stores, you go to these Asian stores and you walk in there and you see these Asian folks in there. And sometimes, man, you look behind the counter and what do you see? You see their little 9-year-old son, their 8-year-old son. They're standing up there learning how to make change, how to operate the cash register, how to, do that kind of stuff. Because a lot of us, even if we have, a little business or whatever, we're not really integrating our children into it. So, I mean, we're not teaching them how to save. We're not teaching. A lot of us aren't even teaching our kids how to work. We didn't even teach them how to work, let alone save or have money and shit. We're not doing it, man. We're not. A lot of us are not teaching them about saving. We're not teaching them about finance. We're not teaching them about entrepreneurship. We're not. I would like to think that with this COVID shit and the children are home more, maybe just maybe parents have taken a different approach to parenting because you're around the children more. Yeah, you're around them more, so you have the opportunity to kind of show these things because usually they're in school 6, 7, 8 hours a day, but now they're home, so you can kind of teach them different stuff, even if it just narrows down to having some degree of internet savvy because a lot of kids are schooling via the internet now. So Hopefully they're teaching them some type of internet savvy, getting them interested in streams of revenue that may come via the internet. That would be my hope. Now, mind you, hope springs eternal, but that is my hope that some parents who are around their children more than they've ever been ever, I'm sure, throughout the week, are taking this time to kind of teach these kids some stuff that they may not necessarily learn in school. That would be my hope.
I agree. I agree, brother X. I want to throw this out there too. I mean, I'm like this, bro. Just even do something like this, man. Now, my opinion, I think crypto is prime rather than the stock market at this point. But example, 20 years ago, if brothers would have just took just $200 a month and bought stock, they bought Apple all the way up to today. Right now, that would be maybe. In fact, I'm trying to remember. I had the numbers at one point, but I want to say to about close to $100,000 that you would invest it, but you'll be sitting on over $1 right now.
Yeah,
Something as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, I have stock in a couple things, and I invested in stock. I bought stocks a long time ago, back when I was in like my 30s, like 29, 30. I invested in stock, and I used to work for Terminex International many years ago, and they offer stock options in Service Master.
Yes.
So I own stock in Service Master, and I own stock in Walmart. Now the Service Master stock ain't doing shit. All right, it's doing nothing. I bought that many years ago. I think I bought it at like $9 a share. I think it's up to like $48 now. The last report I got. But the Walmart stock is different. I bought the Walmart stock when it was, I think it was like $42 a share. The last report it was like $130.
Yep.
So it's done well. I always said I was going to, give it to my grandchildren when my ass die, and I'm stuck to that. I haven't messed with. I haven't Well, I did cash out some of the Service Master stuff. Well, it's not Service Master anymore. Actually, it's they've turned it into Terminex Global Holdings Inc. now. But some of that I did cash out, and I bought some Bitcoin. God damn it! But I bought the Bitcoin for me. That's not for the grandchildren. The stock is for my grandchildren. The Bitcoin, that's my shit. That's my shit. I ain't buy that for them. But I say the same thing, brother. Because I've told people, many years ago, and they laughed at me when I was like, oh man, you getting stocks. Oh man, it ain't gonna do nothing. But guess what? If shit ever went to dire straits, all right, I had to fall back on something. I'd fall back on that shit.
Exactly.
I mean, luckily I haven't, I never hit a bump so big where I had to cash out all my stock. I just been sitting on it all these years. And my financial guy, because I wanted to buy more, and he's telling me to hold. So that's what I've been doing. He's like, oh, let's wait 6 months. Let's wait till the COVID thing go. And then so I kind of listened to him and shit. I didn't listen to him on the Bitcoin part though, because he told me not to buy the shit, but I did it anyway. So I wasn't listening to him when he said that shit. But I've been holding because I want to leave it to my grandchildren. I want my grandchildren to have something, and I figure, even with my Walmart stock, if by the time I die, which I don't plan on doing no time soon, but by the time I die, if it's up to say $150 per share, I think that's good, because when I bought it, that shit was like $30-something. So it's more than quadrupled, over time.
Yeah,
so
but that's the thing is that so many of us are not financially savvy. I mean, they used to always show us in class, a stock chart. If you look at just the returns on the Dow Jones from say, 1920s till now, consistently you're looking at over 10% return a year. up and down some years, but roughly that's your average. But we don't know about those things, and we don't get how much just, hey, putting say $20 a week, $100 a month. I'm sorry, $25 a week, $100 a month. Over time with that continuing growth from the stock going up in value and you continuing to purchase more, just how those things will add up over a 30-year period.
Yeah, I mean, see the thing with stocks, cause see me, I ain't a rich motherfucker. I do all right for myself, but I ain't rich. Cause if I was rich, my ass wouldn't have to work. But I don't always want to be working. I'm trying to retire, man, within the next 5 years. So I want something, kind of to lay on, beyond savings. I want something beyond that because, like I said, man, I'm an old ass man. I've been working ever since I was goddamn like 7 years old and shit. I'm tired of working, goddamn it. I've been working for like 40 something years out this motherfucker. So I'm done, boy. I get exhausted. So in the next 5 years, I'm trying to retire, man. Shit, me and my woman, we gonna buy a Winnebago and ride off into the fucking sunset, and motherfuckers in our family ain't gonna see us for like a year. They're gonna think our ass dead. And then we just gonna reappear out of nowhere. That's the plan. Yeah, that's the plan. So, I'm trying to pad shit up as much as possible, because I got a few bullshit investments, here and there. But I'm trying to retire soon, man. And it would be nice to have some shit that's sitting back making some money, while I'm driving the country and shit in my Winnebago. So that's where I'm headed, man. Because I'm turning this business over to my grandson, man. He's 12 now, so in another 6-7 years he'll be 19. So he'll be 18, 19 years old. I'll let him just kind of rock this shit, man. Let him
That's
fire it
awesome.
up.
That's awesome to hear. We need more black men who think like that generationally. The kids out of the house instead of just okay, I'm done. I'm building a business and passing it on to my grandkids. That's very
Yeah.
commendable.
I got to, because my sons, they don't want any part of this shit. I've been trying to get them down here for like 5 years to help the old man out. They're like, no, Pop, we don't want. So I have to jump down to the next generation. Luckily, my grandson, he's 12 now, but he's very interested in engines and, power and stuff like that. So, I mean, my two sons, shit, and they don't want shit to do with this shit. They want nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. But they got their own lives, and like, my youngest son, he's got his own business. And my oldest son, he works for the city. So, they don't want to, they're like, nah, Pop, we ain't fucking around down there. So luckily I got a grandson who's taking interest in it. So, I guess it'll be his when I'm dead. My sons don't want nothing to do with it, so I gotta give it to somebody, god damn it. But yeah, man, it's I think that if we spend more time teaching these kids, man, about not just finance and money and investing, life. If we spend more time teaching them about fucking life, man, as opposed to teaching them bullshit. I say this all the time, man, and people get mad with me when I say this shit. And what's good, brother TVA? I see you up there, brother. I said, no, I got the middle of the lane. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I block the damn road with that Winnebago, boy. I'll make sure I do it. I often say this, man. You have all these children, man. Because let's be honest, man. I'm gonna give y'all some white man's data right quick, all right? Only 20% of black children are reading on a grade level, doing math on a grade level by the 4th grade. So what does that mean? That means there are another 70, 80% of black children who, yes, can't read, can't write, can't count. None of that shit.
that's on parents too at that age. Fourth
You're,
grade, you're talking about
you're
multiplication tables, basic
damn
stuff.
right. You're damn right, Brother Renaissance. But you got to look at it like this. If a kid can't read, write, or count by the fourth grade, what that tells me is this. Number one, those 4-5 years that he was home with mommy, he wasn't being taught reading, writing, counting, math, colors. He wasn't getting taught none of that shit when he was like 4 years old. He wasn't. But guess what? 4 years old, pull up some social media. You see him cursing people out, shit, fuck, kiss my ass, bitch. 3 and 4 years old. But you get him in school, he can't even hold a damn pencil. But boy, he can sure cuss you out though. Where he learning that from? The same place he's not learning how to write his name. The same place he's not learning colors. The same place where he's not learning reading or writing or anything. So when you got 20%, only 20% of kids by the fourth grade are proficient in math and reading, the other 80%, man, a lot of those kids are screwed. A lot of those kids are the ones that filled up the goddamn that fill up the prisons. A lot of those kids are the ones standing on the corner selling crack and shit. A lot of those kids are the ones robbing liquor stores and knocking old ladies in the head in the subway. That's who a lot of those people are. So when you got parents who aren't invested in their children, we're sending people out in the fucking world, man, who not only aren't prepared for being an entrepreneur, having a job, being a responsible human being. You got people that you sending out in the world, man, that ain't fucking prepared for life, period. That's just my take on it. I don't know. Y'all got it.
Nah, I agree 100%. You can't. That goes back to long-term thinking. That goes back to understanding that, a kid does not just pop into the world. As you said earlier, it's, when you were talking about dealing with police in the outside world, it's a series of conversations repeated over and over and over time. That's the same thing that's being missed with these kids. It's something that's got to start the day they are born. There's even research, I believe, that if you talk to your kid when they're in the mother's womb, it can even make a difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got to start the second they come into this world and continue until they're adults.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we gotta start somewhere, man. We gotta, and I think it has to start when they small. You can't wait till a kid get fucking 16 and then sit him down and say, okay, we're gonna learn about finance today. Nah, man, don't work that way. You need to be teaching him how to count money when he's like 3, when he's 4. All right. You need to be teaching them all that shit, man. You need to be teaching them about life. Life lessons start right out of the goddamn womb.
When you see all these wildly successful people like Tiger Woods or Jeff Bezos, people, they were doing stuff like that when they were in diapers.
Exactly. They didn't learn that shit when they got 17. And you have people say that, well, we need to take these teenagers and, teach them about this, that, and the other thing. How you going to sit a kid down at 16, 17 years old, his ass can barely read, barely write, barely count, because when he was small, all his mama did is let him just roam. All right. The school didn't give a shit about him, obviously, because they passed him through all these classes and shit, even though he'd been failing like all be get out. So he can't read, he can't write, he can't count. But what we going to do? We're going to get him into finance. Man, get the hell out of here. That doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me, man. And for us to think that way, man, we're dreaming. We're dreaming, man. We are dreaming. We are. And people get mad. They say, "Oh, that's a defeatist mind state and all this kind of nonsense." I mean, it's not a defeatist mind state to say a person that doesn't know how to count will never become an accountant. A person who doesn't know how to read is going to become a professor. I mean, come on, man. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. Who said defeatist? That's crazy. If someone said that's defeatist, that's more. Hey, I'm looking at the outcomes, and this needs to start a lot earlier. That's just common sense.
Yeah. I mean, we have to call things for what they are, man. You know, I mean, and I say this a lot, man. Some of us ain't gonna make it, man. When the ship sails, a lot of us gonna be still standing on a dock, unfortunately, man. You know, for a host of reasons. For a host of reasons. That's just what it is. And we've been joined by my man, TVA. What's good with it, brother TVA?
What's going on, man? Yeah, I agree with you. Peace to the panel as well. Peace to everybody in the chat. Hit that goddamn like button, everybody. Please hit the
Yeah,
like button.
for I haunt your mama tonight in her dreams. God damn
Hey,
it. Go ahead.
hey, man. Like I said, I agree with you, but I wanted to throw this out there, man. I wanted to see if you could possibly talk to BGS and Angry Man. I don't know if you were familiar with the debate that happened a few days ago. I mean, I think you should really talk to those guys and try to set up something, man. Because I think everybody would benefit from something like
what
that. But
what I miss? What bring me up to speed? What I miss?
basically, BGS and Angry Man, they got into kind of a debate, and in my opinion, BGS won. But I think a debate, a formal, neutral ground debate between those guys, I think people would really benefit from that. I threw your name out there with BGS, man. So I mean, I think you should kind of push to get that going, man. Everybody respects you, man. You got a fair platform. I think a lot of people will benefit from that exchange. But I agree with you as far as being honest, man. But it's unfortunate you can't be honest these days, Brother X. Unfortunately, being honest could destroy you. If you say, "Hey, I don't really think it's cool for a 12-year-old to be able to choose to change genders." I mean, we don't even let 12-year-olds make. I mean, come on, man. We don't let them choose to have a beer. How we gonna let it? You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense.
We don't let them drive.
Exactly.
I get it.
Exactly, brother. So I mean, you can't, man. But all of a sudden, you're transphobic for saying something like that. It's like, okay, all right. This is, So unfortunately, I mean, I love black people, man. Deep down inside, I do love my people, but at the same time, man, I just, we got the gorilla glue shit going on. It's like we're still, bro. Come on, yeah, we're still bailing them out for doing this bonehead shit. I mean, we just had this woman, something about a hotel room. She put up a GoFundMe. We got these women going down to All-Star Weekend, cheating on their husband, leaving the kids, and man.
You're talking about a woman. I think there was a woman down there who rented like a U-Haul or something.
Man,
staying out of a U-Haul, and then he just opened me to get back home.
Come on, man. I mean, it's getting. It's getting ridiculous. It's been ridiculous, and so it's like, I'm like, all the pro-black. That's kind of why I'm looking sideways at the pro-black people, because the pro-blacks, and look, I think you've heard me a lot, enough, X, to know that I call out both sides. The pro-blacks, my thing with them basically is I understand what team I'm on, but you guys don't want to criticize at all. It's like you want to blame it all on the white man and all this. It's like, no, dude. Like, I tried to patronize 2 black businesses I do try. But I went, Brother X, and I have to be honest, man. The customer service was fucking horrible, brother. I didn't leave a review on Google. I'm not trying to, but come on, man. Like, You got rap music blaring in the background. So what if families try to come in there? You know, niggas talking all loud, cussing and going on, and bitches twerking behind the goddamn Wayne restaurant. I'm waiting 2 hours to get my shit. I mean, then when you give me my food, no thank you, and come again. You know, so, I
Nah,
mean, what the fuck is?
no,
Come on, man.
no, absolutely not. You're not gonna. Well, see, this is the thing. I mean, and I know y'all are familiar with this. When you talking about the customer service industry, you know that includes restaurants and stores and places like Walmart and Target and all these kind of places. Mostly, the most the worst customer service people have most of the customer service jobs.
Man, man.
The people who are the most horrible at customer service have the customer service jobs.
But I mean,
That's
it's like step your game up. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you not see these other groups just coming in, just taking over? Do you know how I feel every time I pass by one of these nail salons, man, and I see all those Asians in there and all those black
yep,
women in there, and it's
yep,
like, really? You know what I'm
yep,
saying? A black woman can't do the same shit? Really?
yep,
Y'all don't know how to do fucking nails?
yep.
Come on. And you
All these
just had
Asian
I don't know if you any of you guys follow Tariq Nasr. I agree with a lot of what he about 65%. I mean, he's kind of full of shit. He will not call out African American women. He refuses to. But you just had this woman filming herself inside of an Asian hair shop, and she's bitching about the treatment. And there's literally a black owned one on the same street, Brother X.
Wow.
Wait, someone said in the chat, don't forget about the hotel where them cats were shooting dice right in front of the workers and people
Oh
staying
man.
in that hotel.
Oh
I
my
didn't hear about that one,
Yeah.
but damn.
Me either. Me either. Me
I mean,
either.
come on, dude. You know what I mean? Why are we the bad guys for pointing out what we're doing wrong to ourselves, how we're tripping ourselves up? I would think that if you really love something, you're going to point out the imperfections. You're going to not to humiliate it necessarily. Like you do have your Tommy Sotomayor's that point out black dysfunction, not for the sake of helping black people. I used to fuck with Tommy, but then I sat back and no, wait a minute. You got trashy dirt faced white boys like JB Gunner giggling and keep keying about black. Wait, look at this white shirt. No, wait a minute. I'm not cool with that. So I understand that these coons, they mention the black dysfunction for the entertainment of racist whites. That is true. I acknowledge that. But the problem is, brothers like you and I, X, and the others on the panel and in the chat, those of us that are reasonable and say, wait a minute, no. I don't care what they think. It's not about impressing them. It's not about making them laugh and make them, no. I'm pointing out the dysfunction because it hurts me. It saddens me to see this shit. We got kids getting shot in these drive-by shootings and these single mother infested, no fathers in the home places, violence in the streets. This is a problem. But when you point this out, you're a coon.
Yep.
I don't get it.
You're a Sambo and you're a sellout if you talk about this stuff, man. You're a Sambo, a sellout, a coon, you buck dancer, you're doing all this kind of nonsense. But see,
Now,
this is the
if
thing.
I'm not, but I don't mean to cut you up, but I'm not too familiar with the Black Panthers. But correct me if I'm wrong, Brother X. Didn't they clean up the streets too?
Yeah. They were, they were against that drugs and all that kind of nonsense. They weren't down with that shit, man. They weren't part of that nonsense. I
I'm
think a
sure
few
you
of them.
had your bad apples. I'm sure you
Yeah,
had your corrupt
yeah,
members here and there. You had your
yeah.
snitches in there too.
Oh,
But the
absolutely.
organization overall, they wasn't feeling that bullshit, man.
No,
Nope.
it just seems that since the 70s, maybe even 80s, it seems like just dysfunction has become the norm, and you can't
Yes.
criticize it. And it's looked at, if you try to move outside of it, there's something wrong with you. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
no, I don't want black people to be defined by dysfunction. and self-destructive behavior.
But the people from there, as soon as they get money, where the fuck do they go? Where do they go? Where's Lil Baby? Where's NBA Youngboy? Where's Chief Keef? Them niggas didn't stay in Chicago. Them niggas gone. As soon as they got money, they got the fuck out of there.
And let me tell you,
fuck out of there.
And I'm not mad at them for that. I mean, you know,
Absolutely
you make your
not.
money and all that shit. You know, you're making millions of dollars. You probably don't want to be living in the third floor of the projects,
right?
But you probably don't want to be living there with all your millions. But I think it's this, right? And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. The reason why, well, let me put it this way. It's charged to the game if, you know, dudes walk around and shoot folks in the head and stray bullets hit 6-year-olds and shit like that. You charge that to the game. But if you or I start talking about it, see, we are worse than that guy who shot the 6-year-old. We're worse than him. We're worse than him because, see, we're shining a light on him. Now, to me, that kind of crap is just ridiculous because you're more upset with the fact that I'm talking about the brother who shot the 6-year-old than you are mad with the brother who actually shot the 6-year-old. Like,
brother, that's what I like to call nigga logic.
Yeah, that's nigga logic.
That's nigga logic.
Absolutely.
I hate you. You hate me. You don't like black people. You mad about kids getting shot. You must hate black people.
Nigga logic. Yeah, that's nigga logic. And not only that, man. Not only that. See, this is the thing. It's not that people don't want you talking about it or discussing it. That's not the thing. They just don't want you talking about it in a critical or realistic way. If you're going to talk about it, you can't talk it in a way where you're criticizing and saying, you know, these dudes are out here shooting 6-year-olds. You know, this is fucked up. These dudes need to be quartered. These dudes need to be hung. These dudes need to be fried. They need to have the electric chair. No, you're not supposed to say that. What you're supposed to say about the brothers who shot the 6-year-old, you're supposed to say, well, the brother wouldn't have shot the 6-year-old if the white man hadn't dropped the goddamn guns in the hood. Now, if you come at it from that angle, it's more acceptable. It's more acceptable if you can kind of connect it to white folks, no matter what it is, whether it's selling drugs, whether it's kids getting killed, whether it's old ladies getting killed, whether it's people getting robbed, carjacked, whatever it is, if you can somehow intertwine it into the white man somehow, people have no problem with you talking about it. If you talk about this stuff and you blame that person, you don't even have to blame black people collectively. If you blame that person for shooting that baby, you are wrong. Unless you can find a way to link it to the white man too. Or just don't talk. If you're not going to link it to white folks, don't talk about it. That's where we are, man.
Basically.
That's where we are.
And you know, at this point, brother, as we don't have time to bullshit. I mean, we don't have time. The situation is so dire. I mean, you talk about, you just said the kids graduating. We're falling behind. This is dangerous. This is linked to the police brutality because they understand this is a community where the kids aren't even graduating with adequate reading, science, math skills. Why should we respect them? They're not going to be able to fight us in court. They can't defend themselves. This is linked to why we're treated the way, and you can't get black people, you can't get enough black people to understand this.
Absolutely.
This is linked to why we're treated like a vulnerable community. Absolutely. Because they understand shit like that about us.
Yeah. The sad part
that's
about
the point
that
I was trying to make earlier. Absolutely. I didn't mean to cut you. I was going to say that's the point I was trying to make earlier. Absolutely.
No, I just wanted to say that when you hear those educational statistics, the sad part in that is you think back and you think, when people talk about slavery and all of that, it was illegal for a slave to learn how to read.
Mhm.
And that's what makes that even worse when you talk about you got people out here, can't read on a fourth grade or can't read on grade letter level, and they're in the fourth grade. It's like when you know that your community came from something like that, where an education was denied to you as a means of keeping you down. It just makes it that much worse when you hear it happen now. And in some instances, you see the prime culprit is other black people.
Is this brother Renaissance?
Yeah, this
Yep.
is me. What's up?
Right.
I remember you, TVA.
What's going on, brother? How you doing, man? Look, you know what nigga logic says though? Nigga logic says the guy that can read and write and all that, the intellect, he's not the threat. It's the nigga on the corner, sagging his pants, gangbang. He's the real threat to white supremacy. That's what
Yeah.
nigga logic said.
The one that they can just literally get the police to plant some drugs and throw him in jail.
Exactly.
He's a real threat.
He's the one they're scared of, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. It's
Because,
I mean, even Wesley Muhammad, I don't know if he talked about the nigga mind. He talked about it.
I mean, I think black people need to get away from this crap, man. We need to get away from this, this whole, it's the white man's fault for every goddamn thing, especially when we're talking about individually. I get it. I mean, what the white man does to black people collectively is debatable. But, if every single person can lay their lives or the failure of their lives at the feet of white people, I mean, come on, man. What are we doing here, man? What are we doing? When we can just lay everything, every failure, every problem, we lay it at the feet of the white man. And even if you're doing that, fine. If you want to tell me, and I've said this many, many times before, if you want to say that the white man is the nucleus of all the black folks' problems, fine. Why do we not use that as a motivator as opposed to a fucking excuse to fail?
Exactly. That's what. See, I don't have a problem with people saying, "Hey, these policies or this is harming us," because we've always done that. The difference is historically we sought to address it. We haven't used it as an excuse to, "Oh, I can go gauge in dysfunction because I got no." You now have something you have to go and correct.
Well, nigga logic says our destiny is in the complete total control of whites, but we're somehow God's queens, kings. You know what I'm saying? But everything is in the hands. I mean, come on, y'all.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you're gonna blame the white man for everything, man. I mean, if you're gonna blame him for everything, I've said this before too. If you're going to blame the white man for everything, that means you're not just blaming him for the bad shit that happened to black folks. That means you're blaming him for the good shit that happened to him too.
I get criticized because I will now. I'm not gonna get on the racism doesn't exist boat. I'm not getting on that boat.
Nope.
Now that shit, it does exist now. But the question is, what the fuck are we doing to make ourselves less vulnerable to it?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
No, exactly.
We can't have shit like our kids graduating with that shit ain't helping. Nope. It's damn sure not helping.
Yeah. I mean, everybody can acknowledge that bigotry, racism, discrimination exists. I mean, we're black people. I mean, of course, these things exist. The question is, though, what the hell are we doing about it?
Period.
That's what I want to know. What are we doing about it? Continue to talk about it and continue to give people this blanket fucking excuse for doing all this dysfunctional crap and just say, well, don't worry about it. You can just chalk it up to the white power structure. You can just chalk it up to slavery. You can just talk. Come on, man. We got to stop doing that shit. We got to. If you see, when I have conversations with people, outside of YouTube, and I hear people, because I got people who talk this shit, talk this whole, the white man got his foot on my neck shit, and my question is, fine, what are you doing to get that foot off your face? That's what I want to know. Fine, you feel like the white man got his foot on your face, that's fine. I want to know, what are you doing to get that boot off of you? Okay, because see, if you're not talking about that, you might as well lay right there with that boot on your face for the rest of your life, and lay down there and just complain about it. Or are you waiting for someone else to come along? And is that what it is? I think that's what it is.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
white
it's both.
Jesus,
No,
white
no.
Jesus.
I think it's both. I think it's either A, if I can say that, that means I get to justify my behavior and I don't have to do any hard work or change. Or B, I can maybe get someone to come and do the hard work for me.
Yeah.
Because I look back at someone like Bill Cosby, for example, which I said, in my opinion, post civil rights, he did more for black people collectively, as far as the money he donated, the things he tried to buy, the ventures he tried to go and endeavor in that would help black people. And even he called out, the poor behavior. And this is the other thing. I don't know if it was so much the people got upset or the media got involved and then tried to inflame it. Because when he made that speech at, I believe it's the NAACP, they said people were clapping. And then the next day, you heard all the people in the media getting up in a frenzy. And then you heard all these people start condemning this man. And I'm just like, after he's done all of that, donated money to black colleges, doubling their endowment, paid for people's scholarships, had a black guy who wanted to start driving NASCAR and put up $250,000 so he could go and find a team to go drive with. But yet people were going to throw him away because they don't like what he said there. Come on.
Yeah, and then we cry out for heroes. We cry out for these heroes. We cry out, oh, we need people to lead. We cry out, we need people to give money. We cry out, oh, you rich millionaires don't want to give back. But if you find these examples of these people who do these things that everyone speaks of, they skewer these people on media. They skewered the guy who paid for all those brothers' education. They skewered this guy, man.
He got a white
Robert
woman
Smith.
now. Hey, nigga with a white bitch.
Yes, we skewered him, and him by his damn self probably did more for brothers than 1,000 of us combined, 5,000 of us combined did. Him by himself, and he was skewered in the freaking media for the simple fact that he had a freaking white wife or whatever. Who cares? He paid for all those brothers' education. Who gives a shit who he's married to, man? Who cares? That's what I'm talking about. I mean, you have these people who are always talking about, oh, y'all dudes don't want to give back. Y'all dudes don't want to do this. Y'all dudes don't want to invest in black folks and all this kind of nonsense. Then when somebody does it, all we do is look for a reason to say how, oh, him investing those millions of dollars or nothing, because see, he has a white wife. As if it would have made a fucking difference if he had a black wife or a blue wife or a green wife. The bottom line is, he gave those brothers a jump start. He gave those brothers an out of their debt. He gave those brothers that none of any other of our black asses was going to do. No one else was going to do that, because number one, most of us don't have that kind of money. And number two, even if we did, we wouldn't have did the shit. So I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. I don't get it, man. It's just nuts to me, man. And like I said, man, we often have these talks about what black folks need to be doing and what black folks should be doing and how they should be looking out for the hood and also kind of nonsense. But when somebody does it, what do we do? What do? We skewer them in the media. We talk about what they doing ain't nothing, and all this kind of nonsense. So which is it? Which is it? Either you want people to look out for black people or you don't. Either you want people to be examples of Black success or you don't. I mean, there's nothing in between that as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing in between it. But we about to wrap this up, man. Any final thoughts, man? Any parting shots, man, before we get out of here?
Not for me. Thanks for letting me come up, X. Like I
Absolutely.
said, great talk with bringing on the lawyer. You know, like I said, there are a few things I disagreed with, but I always appreciate the bringing in a professional and someone making people aware of the issues that are out there. And like I said, great chop up after her interview. So
I appreciate it, man. Look forward to some more professionals coming through, man. I got quite a few lined up that I'm working on, so stay tuned.
Absolutely. I'll catch y'all later.
Peace, brother Renaissance.
Yeah,
anybody?
Brother. Yeah,
Go ahead,
I like
brother.
to say, man, I appreciate me to come up, man. This was a really hot show, and my Sunday, man, we to scheduling, a official show with you, man. We want to, we definitely have that topic of preparation of the to discuss. Yep. Brother X.
Oh, my bad, man. I had the goddamn mic off, man. My bad.
No.
I was saying that brother AJ wants to do a challenge on Thursday, and I already have a show booked for next Wednesday, and I have a show booked for tomorrow as well. So, do you want to do something the following week, or do you want to do something because this Saturday I can't do nothing because I'm actually taking a trip for a couple days this weekend. But we can do something the following Saturday if you're available on Saturday, or we can do something the following Wednesday. It's up to you.
Actually, the following Saturday would be fine. That would be the 27th. Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, let me look at my calendar. Let me see what I got going on. God damn it. Let me see. The 27th. Okay, we can do the 27th if you want to do that. Unless you want to do something, during the week, we can do something the 24th or the 25th.
Okay,
we can do something.
Well, is it possible familiar to give you so I can talk to Rodney, find on his.
Yeah. Hit me up. Just hit me up. You got my email. Hit me up. Let me know when you're good, and we'll rock out. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Dude, man. Enjoy your trip too.
Yeah, man. I'm taking a couple of days of sun and bullshit and drink a lot of beers and smoke a lot of cigars and shit. Something like that. But hit me up, man. We'll do something. You already know.
We'll do.
All right, my brother.
Peace.
Brother AJ. Brother AJ. Paging. Brother AJ. Damn it. I think AJ sleep, y'all. I think AJ done went to sleep on us, man. Brother AJ. Are you there, brother? Are you there, brother? Brother AJ? Yeah, brother AJ don't went to sleep on us, y'all. I think he's falling asleep on us. What's good, brother BMT? I see you up there, brother. Yeah, I think he done fell asleep on us, y'all. I think he has fell asleep on us. He has fell asleep on us, folks. But yeah, man. Good stuff tonight, man. I'm glad y'all hung out here with us, man. I appreciate it. You should have came up, brother BMT, man. We was in here talking about some legal stuff and some Black dysfunction and all that kind of stuff. I had a lawyer here. Rhonda Dixon was here from California, and she was talking about laws and policing and all that good stuff, man. Should have came through, man. But you probably was over there streaming, boy. I see you've been putting in work lately, boy. You've been putting in some work, man. You putting in some work. So yeah, we're gonna get on up out of here, man. Let me turn this on. Shit. Yeah, we're gonna get on up out of here, man. I appreciate everybody coming through tonight, man. Good shit, man. Good shit. Good shit, y'all. I'm glad y'all hung out for it, man, and y'all stuck around and all that kind of stuff, man. Y'all know it's always appreciated, man. I appreciate the cash apps, man, and all of that stuff as well. One more program note before we get up out of here. I told y'all that that brother Cut to the Chase was coming on Thursday. Let me see. Let me look. Let me check my schedule, y'all. I might have been wrong. Let me see. This brother Cut to the Chase. I believe he's coming. He's not coming Wednesday. I think he's coming Thursday. And I told AJ he was gonna do some. Yeah, brother Cut is coming on. Yeah, he's coming on Thursday. See, I didn't schedule nothing for Wednesday. I didn't schedule anything for Wednesday because I actually got something to do on the 17th. So I didn't schedule anything for that Wednesday. So yeah, he'll be here Thursday. My bad, y'all. Cut to the Chase will be here Thursday, next Thursday. So I guess what I'm going to have to do, because AJ says he wants to throw down on Thursday. So I might have to make that a double header. All right. That might have to be a late night double header, y'all. But I'll hit AJ up, when he's sober up or whatever. I got his information. I'll hit him up. Brother Art in the house. What's good, brother Art? My brother. Yeah, so that's what we got going down. Now that I done figured out what we're doing, y'all. Had to check the old schedule. Yeah, so tomorrow, like I said earlier, folks, tomorrow the discussion will be the incorrect espousals of obsessed interlocutors. The reckoning will be tomorrow. Tomorrow, you're gonna see a lot of heavy hitters here tomorrow. I mean, all of the YouTubers that you know and love will be here. This will probably be the only time you will see all of those YouTubers in one place at one time on one show right here. Tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the T.P.O.T. YouTube page. You Negroes know. Yeah, we're gonna throw down tomorrow, man, and we're gonna be talking about this reckoning topic, and we're gonna be discussing the obsessed interlocutors, and y'all need to be here, man. And then Thursday, this young fella right here will be here. Brother Cut to the Chase will be here. He's coming in for an interview, man. I've been trying to get the young fella in for a while, but it's like our schedules just kept banging up, man. I've been trying to get him in here for like a couple of months, but I finally was able to lock in a good day for him. So he'll be here Thursday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the T.P.O.T. YouTube page. So make sure you're here for that one. All right. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, man. I want to thank everybody, man, for coming through tonight, man. I want to thank my man AJ, Renaissance, man. The Power of Offense. You're probably going to see him come through for an interview as well. Also brother TVA, brother Chaos, and who else was up here? I think that's it. Brother Chaos, brother TVA, brother AJ, the Power of Offense, and yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was everybody. So yeah, good shit tonight, man. And a special shout out, man, to Ronda Dixon Esquire. If you got in late, I suggest you go ahead and rewind it, man, because the lady talked some good stuff tonight. She couldn't stay long. I only had her for like an hour and a half, you know, but she did agree to come back. So I will get her back at some point. And like I said, man, go ahead and rewind it, man, because she said some good stuff tonight, man. And she told me some things that, you know, so a lot of that stuff I didn't know, you know. I didn't know. I didn't know that judges could actually be a judge and not even have a background in the law that he's presiding over. Like, go figure. That's totally insane. You don't have to know anything about the law that you're presiding over. All right. You can be a civil judge, but have a criminal background. You can be a criminal judge, but your background is civil. Like, and there you are sitting up there ruling over shit that you know nothing about. Insane. But yeah, special shout out to the attorney. Hit her up. Like I said, look down there. Her website is in the description box. I believe it's the DixonLawCenter.com. Go ahead and hit her up if you're in the California area, you know, if you need her services, if you need her to represent you. Yeah. And as soon as I can get her back, I will, y'all, you know, because I didn't get to ask everything I wanted because she had to go. You know, I was only supposed to have her for like an hour, but I did get her to stay for like 90 minutes. So, you know, I tried to squeeze in whatever I could. But yeah, so good shit tonight, man. Serious show, because we do have those from time to time. From time to time, we actually talk about serious stuff up here. So you know, like I said, man, I'm glad y'all joined us, man. And hopefully you got something out of it, man. You know, hopefully you learned some things, man, that you didn't know before, man. And you know, I suggest you go ahead, man, hit her website, read up on her, read up on what she's about, man, and you know, decide for yourselves. And also follow up on those stories she told you about. Read those, decide for yourselves. You know, like always, you know, always go into it, man, and research it for yourself, man. Don't take the word of the people who come up here, man. You know, go ahead and research the stuff yourself and come to your own conclusions. That's all I can say. All right. All right. So, with that, I will leave you good folks. And also, make sure you're here tomorrow. I'm telling you, you're not going to want to miss this one. You're not. So, I will leave you good folks with 3 words. You know, like I always do. Open your minds.
Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power.
And so a community is where you control your police, you control your commerce, you control your education, you control your house. We don't control none of that. We live in a hood. Huh? Well, what about the Negroes that get out? Well, see, my cousin, they say he's a multi-millionaire, almost got $1 billion.
The popular thought
3 PhDs, working on 2 more. Driving down the street in Chicago in his Rolls Royce, enjoying himself, and he hear these sirens and look through the mirror and see this cop car flashing lights. He squeezed the steering wheel, man. Heart beats fast. Because he knows the price of a Negro, what it could be. And then when that cop car passing by, he said, thank God he wasn't after you in the first place, Frank. That Negro thing you can't get away from. It's universal. They wasn't coming after you. With all your millions, with your Rolls Royce, with your PhD, didn't help. That's the hood. Why do you think you never pick up a paper 3D over and over and see white families come? You think it's thousands of black cops in America. Why don't you see white families crying as black cops shot my loved one 42 times in the back of the head? Why do you think black cops are that? Think they're more spiritual? Think they're better good? No! They got enough sense to know that white folks ain't gonna tolerate it. And I will stop in our neighborhood when we decide we will not tolerate it. Now, if we was organized, which is hard to organize people who are just gonna run crazy and you don't know you're crazy. But if we were, with the money we have, and the many people who would come to our aid that don't know what it's like to be a Negro, and we said, if we said, look, we saying, if we don't get a federal law to deal with police brutality, that anytime a cop or anybody carry a gun, have to have a license just like you used to drive a car. And if you use it wrong, then you lose your license. And if it's upheld, you can never work again as a cop or a store guard or a private detective. How do you get Congress to push that through? Well, you take your economic power and you call on your friends, black, white, young and old, and say, this coming Christmas, if we don't have a federal law to outlaw police brutality by law, then we call them for a nationwide boycott of Christmas and start on Thanksgiving. Well, let me tell you what that means. 79% of all retail in America happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People stay in business all year, lose money just for Christmas, huh? Well, what happens now? Factory Avenue, Toys R Us, Sears and Roebuck, Weston House. They will get the bill, and all they got to do is make one phone call and say, Harry, that's the senator, I want that bill pushed through in 3 days. Okay, it's an economic thing. It's that simple. But we have the power, but the system has wiped us out so bad.
Hours of power. Hours of power. Hours of power.
Van Corner, Lincoln 6. Go ahead. Clear suspect ground 10-4. That's 10-4. The officer's code 4. We have one suspect that's been shot.
Open your mind.
Only from T.P.O.T. Media. Open your mind.